As we prepare now for our next phase of our meeting, we turn it over to the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are on our scheduled public hearings for 6 p.m. Item number 40 is the first and only public hearing to consider adopting a proposed ordinance adjusting the boundary lines for single-member Leon County Board of County Commissioners districts. Commissioners, you know this item is associated with your recent approval of the redistricting maps and that entire process. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Okay, commissioners, this is redistricting for the Leon County Commission. Are there any comments that you'd like to offer? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. It carries unanimously. Mr. Administrator, next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the next item, item number 41, is the first and only public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance authorizing the automatic renewal of the low-income senior property tax exemption. Again, there are no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Okay, we have a motion. You got that? Who made the motion? Everybody made it. I think Commissioner Dozier made it, seconded by Commissioner Minor. For option 1 under item number 41, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, or same sign. It passes unanimously. Item 42. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 42 is the first and only public hearing to consider a proposed resolution adopting the inventory list of county-owned properties appropriate for affordable housing. We do this in accordance with Florida statutes annually. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Okay, there are no speakers. Are there any comments? Commissioner Dozier, I know you want to get a little taste of this. Go ahead. Okay, very good. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 43 is your first and only public hearing to consider adopting a resolution of intent to use the uniform method of levy collection and enforcement of non-ad valorem assessments for the purposes of collecting the full amount of all charges related to sewer service imposed on certain real property located in the Anna Woods subdivision. Commissioners, we have no speakers on this item, and we're recommending option 1.
Commissioners, I want to make sure that we're not imposing with the sewer services, and as we're moving toward executing greater sewer services to specific areas, are we imposing a financial burden which heretofore has not been imposed, and are we placing a mandatory noose around the potential necks of those persons who receive sewer hookups? Please tell us, if you can, staff, if we are imposing upon our citizens a lien possibility on their properties, or what are we doing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, yes, this is associated with all of the septic to sewer that we're doing. This one is specific to the Anna Woods subdivision. Again, this would allow the county to assess a non-ad valorem assessment for the annual property tax bill for property owners that do not have a city metered utility account. With that, I'm going to ask Alan to provide any additional information.
No, you've correctly stated it, Mr. Administrator.
And we're happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
The Bel Air community is one down there by off of Woodville Highway and Capitol Circle. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, and what are we asking them to potentially to do?
Let me just make sure I've got you clearly. You said Bel Air. This is for the Anna Woods subdivision on this item.
Yeah, Bel Air / Anna Wood area.
Okay.
And we're asking them, in the event that they should hook up to sewer services, that they would be duty bound to pay the county, and or else be subject to what?
I see we've got the county attorney wanting to get in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, this would allow us to basically assess and use the uniform method of collection, which is on the property tax bill, to collect the assessment for the wastewater fee. That will be imposed because now wastewater is available to those residents as a function of those big sewer to septic to sewer projects that we've been facilitating and receiving a lot of the state grant funding for. Ultimately, even though we will be collecting it simply because they don't have a city utility bill that goes to them because they don't have city water, our only involvement in that is just the collection mechanism. The county keeps none of that revenue. It goes over to the city, which has the utility. We don't have that. But this action does not set rates. Those rates would be set in the next cycle, which would be late summer, early fall of next year. So this doesn't tell you what that amount that would be imposed would be under this agenda item.
Okay.
That's unknown.
Let me just state, Commissioners, my concern here is we've got precincts in that area that cannot vote in city elections. The city thus uses us as a conduit to impose fees which channel to the city, and we're the bad guys who send out a notice and our name is on it, but the return of the dollars go to the city. The city won't let 8 precincts in the South Side vote in city elections. And many of these people, well, all of these people, are on city electricity. I just have a functional problem with us using this methodology to collect money for a city that in some instances has not even run sewer pipes. And these people live down the street from the city's sewer treatment plant on Spring Hill and Capitol Circle. We know what everybody else ate, but we have to put our morning food in the backyard. And we're receiving sewer down on the South Side from as far as 16 miles away from City Hall. And the city is mistreating people on the South Side. And we can't put ours in the big can by the airport. And we can't vote. And we're buying electricity from the city. City is selling electricity to people on the east side, 15 miles away from City Hall, 17 miles away from City Hall, and they can vote. I'm not prepared to support this tonight. I'm willing to conduct this motion, but for the reasons that I've just stated, Commissioners, I can't support it. Okay. You've heard the motion. It's been made. Option 1, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. Aye. Okay. It passes 6-1.
Point of order, who made the motion and seconded the motion? Okay. Maddox? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Maddox Dozier. All right, next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this is the first and only public hearing to consider adopting a proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map to change the zoning classification from the rural zoning district to the Bradfordville Hills Planned Unit Development for 162 acres located on the west side of Thomasville Road, including 6920 Lawton Childs Lane. The item before you is being recommended to conduct the first and only public hearing and to adopt the ordinance. We have no speakers on this item. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Ms.
Point of information or just point of order, since this is a quasi-judicial proceeding and ex parte communications are required to be disclosed on the record, some of those were received by the county attorney's office, have been made a part of the record, and were distributed to the public. Do any commissioners need to disclose any ex parte communications at this time?
Can you tell us what that word means?
Sure. Communications with any interested party related to this quasi-judicial proceeding.
Is anybody up here
Mr.
talk,
Chairman?
anybody interested on this matter?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir?
yeah, as recently as yesterday, I was contacted by Ed Murray, an ex parte communication regarding this particular item.
Okay, does that compels our commissioner to not vote or participate in this vote?
No, it's just a disclosure requirement. So Commissioner Jackson, who did you speak with?
What's that?
Who did you speak with?
Ed Murray,
Ed Murray?
who is in part in this item.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir?
Mr. Chair, I also received a call from Mr. Murray, Ed Murray, to ask, see if I had any questions about the item of the project.
Okay. Any other
Mr. Chair.
commissioners? Yes, Commissioner?
I disclose, I guess, in writing to the county attorney. Do I need to disclose it on the record as well?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there others? Okay. Commissioner Welch, yes, sir?
Mr. Chair, I just want to speak on the item, if that's okay.
Okay, hold it. Commissioner Dozier, did you talk to mine or anyone on this matter? Okay, very good. Okay, Mr. Welch, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, mention to everybody, this is in my district, obviously, it's right near Childs High School. And I've been in touch with Mr. Murray as well, which I disclosed, who's representing the property owner. But I have also talked to some constituents, and so as of right now, I got no major problems with this item.
Okay, we got a green light. We good to go and vote on this item. Mr. Attorney, Mr. Administrator, could you tell us, does this area anticipate having sewer?
I believe it does. Let me defer to Barry. Is Barry here with us? Barry, if you could come up and answer the question.
Barry, just trying to understand what kind of services are anticipated up there at Childs High School in this 162 acres.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's anticipated that we'll have full urban services, potable water, sewer, et cetera.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, this underscores the exact point I made in the previous item. Here we are 16 miles north of City Hall, up by Childs High School, which I have nothing against. Childs, that area, anything. It's just that the city has something against the South Side. And the services with which they're willing for us to support and to endorse this PUD, we do it all the time. And we do it mindlessly, unconsciously, and it's just perfectly the order of the day. But I want you to know, everybody ain't treated equal, and the services for which Barry suggests will come 100% full-scale services, all the urban services will go way up there. I can't get it in my district. This pisses me off. But this is the truth. This is the light. This is Tallahassee. Has a motion been made? I received one. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. For the record, I vote against this. It passes 6-1. Our next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, your final public hearing item number 45, is the first and only public hearing to consider adopting a proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map to change the zoning classification from open space to governmental operational for 9.97 acres located on Capitol Circle Southwest. The item before you is being recommended. The applicant is the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and we have one speaker on this item, I believe, representing the applicant, Sean Marston.
Ms. Lynch, if you state your name and address for our record.
Yes, sir. Sean Marston, 2851 Remington Green Circle. I'm with Urban Catalyst Consultants. We're representing FWC. The reason we're requesting this change is that DOT is widening Capitol Circle. I'm sure you're aware. It's severely impacting FWC, so we have to make changes to their site plan. In order to do this, we need the zoning change to government operational. So here to answer any questions you might have, and I appreciate your time.
Mr. Jackson, you got any questions about this change in your district?
Nothing at this time, sir.
Okie dokie. Is there a motion for adoption? A motion, second. Any discussion, commissioners? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. It passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you. Ms. County Administrator, where are we now?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes your public hearing. It puts us back on the consent agenda. Excuse me? Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. You do have one more presentation that has been added to the agenda by the chairman. With that, I will call up Andy Johnson and Jeff Sharkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Mr. Johnson, before you speak, I want Commissioner Chairman did ask this be brought to us. The Florida Legislature session begins January 4th, 5th. We will not have another meeting prior to the legislature launching. This is our last meeting, and we want to make sure that we understand the effects and impacts of projected redistricting and how it may enlarge or marginalize the political strength, legislative strength of our communities. And so given the time crunch of the legislature will be starting in a few weeks prior to our coming back, it's very important that our community is not made stripped of and we are just completely diluted. And so I've asked for this presentation for the benefit of whether or not there is a need for us to weigh in for or against any. And also to note that in surrounding counties, county commissioners have been looking at these lines to see how their communities are impacted. And of course, you know, this occurs only every 10 years. And for it to happen, and we are not alert, shame on us. So we can't afford for that dimension of shame to be on us. Mr. Johnson, please give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I am joined here by Jeff Sharkey today from Capital Alliance Group, and we're, of course, happy to provide this update on the redistricting process for you. For today's presentation, Commissioners, I'm going to provide just a brief overview of the process and then provide you an update on the initial map proposals for redistricting that have been filed for the Florida House, Florida Senate, and Florida's congressional districts. And then I'll hand it over to Jeff in just a moment, and he'll talk more about sort of the next steps and the timing for the redistricting process and what to expect, what happens next. So, Commissioners, just a brief overview. Of course, the Florida legislature is responsible for drawing the state legislative and Florida's congressional districts following each census. The House Redistricting Committee takes responsibility for the House map. The Senate Reapportionment Committee takes responsibility for the Senate map, and both houses take responsibility for the congressional map. All three of the maps ultimately have to be approved by majorities in both chambers. In September of this year, Commissioners, the Florida House and Senate appointed their redistricting committees and subcommittees. The committee staff is responsible for developing the initial map proposals, which were workshopped most recently by the House and the Senate redistricting committees during the last committee week, which is about 2 weeks ago. And as you see here on the slide, the proposals must be approved by the House Redistricting Committee and the Senate Reapportionment Committee, which have not happened yet. That will happen when session starts, as the chairman indicated, in just a few weeks. And then again, like I mentioned, by a majority of both chambers after that. I'll mention briefly, on the next few slides, I'll talk about the details of the specific map proposals that have been filed. Before I do, again, just briefly, I wanted to address the Fair District Amendments that were passed by Florida voters in 2010, which established some specific constitutional requirements for the legislature to follow in the process of drawing the state legislative and congressional districts. And you see these here on the screen. I'm not going to read it all to you, but just generally to summarize, there are 2 tiers of criteria that the legislature is directed to follow. The Tier 1 criteria basically provide that maps cannot be drawn or a redistricting plan cannot be drawn to favor or disfavor a political party or an incumbent, and also cannot be drawn for the purposes of, in quotes here, racial gerrymandering, which is it cannot be done in such a way as to deny equal opportunity of a racial or language minority to participate in the political process. And as you see, there's a second tier of criteria which have to be adhered to the extent that they don't conflict with the Tier 1 criteria at the top. Generally, the districts must be contiguous territory, generally equal in population, compact, and wherever possible to follow existing political and geographic boundaries. So I wanted to mention that just generally as a framework. As I mentioned again, next few slides we'll be looking at the specific map proposals that have been filed so far. So moving on, Commissioners, again, the next few slides, I'll talk about the details of the specific proposals. I'm going to start generally with the Florida Senate proposals and the congressional proposals because they generally have relatively few changes compared to the current redistricting maps. And again, I'll spend some more time in just a moment on the proposals for the House of Representatives because they involve some significant changes to the House districts which represent Leon County. So what you see here on this slide, Commissioners, this shows the current map for Florida Senate District 3. Again, this is the current map, but I wanted to mention there are 8 proposals currently right now for Florida Senate maps. However, under all of those, what you see here for District 3 is generally unchanged, only some very, very minor changes here. So no substantive changes proposed for the Florida Senate maps. Moving on to the congressional maps, Commissioners, this is, again, the current configuration of congressional districts representing Leon County. What you see here is District 2 in kind of the purple shade, which is on the top. That's currently, District 5 on top is Congressman Lawson's district. District 2, Congressman Dunn's district, is sort of on the bottom in the orange shade. Under all of the congressional map proposals, Commissioners, and there are 10 of those, Congressman Lawson's district, which is 5, would generally keep the current areas that it has in the southwest and northwest portions of Tallahassee. And I've got another map here on the next slide that provides a little more detail. Some of the proposals also have District 2 picking up parts of southwest Leon County, primarily in the rural areas, if you see my mouse here, where that's hovering. And District 5 in return would pick up some population areas in western Duval County at the eastern end of its district. And so here's just an example. Again, there are 10 of these congressional map proposals, but generally they all look very similar. Again, under the proposals, District 5, which is Congressman Lawson's district, would keep these areas in southern Tallahassee, western Tallahassee, and northwestern Leon County. And District 5, again, would pick up areas in western Duval County. The big change is a corridor here along Capitol Circle Northeast that is currently under District 5 and would go over to District 2. However, I'll just note here for a moment, I spoke with Congressman Lawson's office as recently as this morning, and they're not requesting any specific action from the county at this time. But I just wanted to generally address, again, the congressional proposals and the Florida Senate proposals before moving on in a little bit more detail here to the House of Representatives. And as I mentioned, there are some fairly significant changes proposed in the House of Representatives proposals for Districts 7 and 9. District 9 is this orange shaded district, which is represented by Representative Tant. District 7 on the bottom in the pink shade is Representative Shoaf's district, and District 8 is Representative Alexander. There are 2 initial map proposals for the House of Representatives. This slide again shows the current configuration of districts serving Leon County. And in the next few slides, we'll show the 2 proposals that have been filed for the House districts. I tried to get this map as big as I could for the slides here, but in case anybody can't see it very clearly, I'll just do a brief description. Of course, the easy one, District 8 currently has all of Gadsden County as well as some portions of western and northwestern Tallahassee. District 9 has all of eastern and northeast Leon County and portions of southeast Leon County as well. And then District 7 is a much broader district that includes portions of southwestern Leon County down here and several other surrounding rural counties. Again, that's the current configuration. The first map proposal that I'll highlight here for House redistricting, what is commonly referred to as Map 7, to abbreviate sort of this long numbering sequence that you see down here at the bottom. So again, this is what we call Map 7. Under this proposal, Commissioners, District 7 basically would pick up some areas of southeastern Leon County down here. District 8, which is again Representative Alexander's district, would pick up sort of this sliver here of northwestern Leon County, sort of by the Lake Jackson area. And District 9 would retain these areas that it currently holds in northeastern Tallahassee and Leon County, but also pick up a substantial amount of geographic area in northern Jefferson County and all of Madison County. Now moving on, Commissioners, this is the one that I'll spend a little more time on because this is the one that contains sort of the most significant changes to these districts. And this one is what we call Map Number 5, again, abbreviating the numbering system that you see down here at the bottom. So this proposal, Commissioners, has, again, some significant changes, primarily to District 9 and District 7. District 9 would be changed primarily by removing urban areas that it currently represents, as you see up here in northeastern Tallahassee and Leon County. And those would be added to District 7, Representative Schoaf's district. And it would also add, as you can see here, several entire rural counties to the east and to the southeast. Under the proposal, District 7, as you can see here, would remain predominantly a rural district geographically. However, again, it would pick up these very densely populated urban areas in the eastern and northeastern portion of Leon County. And here, I wanted to provide you just a closer look at map number 5 so you can see in a little more detail here. District 7, again, Representative Schoaf's district, would pick up some portions here of the Lake Jackson area, FSU's campus, which is currently in District 9, and parts of the downtown area, parts of northeast Tallahassee, as we discussed, that are also currently in District 9, and other portions of eastern Leon County, including the Mahan Corridor, Appalachie Parkway, as well as Southwood. Like the other House proposal, District 8, currently Representative Alexander's district, would again pick up some additional portions of northwestern Leon County, primarily around the Lake Jackson area, west of Meridian Road. As a result of this proposal, District 9 would be comprised of primarily suburban and rural areas in northeastern Leon County, again, as well as all of those counties to the east and southeast that I showed you on kind of that broader map on the previous slide. So with that, Commissioners, like I said, I wanted to provide you some detail of the proposals that have been filed so far. Now I want to invite Jeff to come up to talk about sort of the next steps in the redistricting process and timelines for what we expect moving forward.
Thank you, Andy. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thanks. Jeff Sharkey. Always appreciate the opportunity on last minute to come and do these wonderful presentations. But this is really super important, and I appreciate the opportunity. I am not a redistricting specialist. I've had to live through it and watch it over at the Capitol. But so Andy did a fabulous job in telling you kind of where we are on the technical side with these the map development. I'm going to give you a little insight into kind of the politics of this. As you can imagine, it happens every 10 years. It's a big deal to elected officials, state, House, Senate members, congressional members, of course, and advocates who really care about fair elections, right? The process has changed, obviously, since 2010, the census then, 2020. As you may know, from the Fair District Act, the courts threw out the maps that were developed because they were gerrymandered in 2010 by the existing Republican-dominated legislature, threw them out, drew their own maps, and it's that fair district map framework that Andy talked about is really what's guiding this process. I'm going to talk just a little bit about that, not bore you, hopefully. But, so the process is complicated. It's highly politically charged. It's highly technical. It's also, fraught with all sorts of mistrust, suspicion from those who are really not controlling potentially how those maps. And these maps are really generated by staff. So I represent the League of Women Voters, so I've sat through a lot of meetings, listening to it. It's a complicated process. So what's happening with the outcome of these map options, it obviously affects districts, as you can imagine. So our local delegation certainly has expressed some concern over several options on the House maps. I think, as Andy pointed out, the Senate maps for Senator Rousley are relatively the same. Congressional maps, I've talked to Congressman Lawson as well. I don't think they see a whole lot of changes. Their races may be a little different in terms of the constituents they have to represent. But for the most part, as a matter of fact, when the Senate maps came out on November 10th, it was kind of surprising. The Democrats said, well, these are okay. They seem to be fine. It doesn't seem to be the kind of gamesmanship that happened 10 years ago. 2 weeks later, the House maps came out, and these are workshop maps. These are not final bills, and of course, created a great deal of controversy. I'm not. I just want to be careful. I'm not trying to be bipartisan or nonpartisan or apartisan, whatever the case may be. I'm just reflecting the feedback I'm hearing from not just our local delegation, but statewide. And typically, it's there are people in this process who are, redistricting experts in general. They criticized the House maps. Certainly the Democratic caucus in the House did as well, really on the basis of a couple of things, and just start with that. One is, these committees have been meeting. There is a full committee, redistricting and reapportionment committee, and then there in the House there is a congressional redistricting committee and a House redistricting committee. They've met 5 times. The full committees have met 3 times. These maps are out as workshop maps. But from the feedback from Democrats is they feel they've really had no input into these processes. The data, which has been collected by Florida State University, the Senate hired Florida State to collect the data, is put into this algorithm and this software program, and out pop these maps based on those criteria, Tier 1 and Tier 2 criteria. Those are critical, because at the end of the day, these maps could be challenged in court, and the legislature, the dominant party in the legislature, doesn't want them to be challenged and have them written again by the court system, right? So they're trying to get as close as they possibly can without a legal challenge. In order to do a legal challenge, I'm getting in the weeds here, you've got to really have the ability to get that real granular data to run your own models, right? And so that's kind of what the discussion that's going on right now. So the Democrats are complaining and saying, in the House, saying, this is not transparent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then again, you get down to, so what's the basis then for a member who says, listen, this district isn't really capturing what I think my constituents historically have had, and or representing, it's not a community of interest, but kind of geographic and political interest areas. So I won't get it. I can answer any questions on this, but so right now, as Andy pointed out, in the House side, Representative Tant's district gets changed dramatically in the sense that that constituency no longer becomes urban-suburban, which that district has represented for a long time, but becomes diluted or split into rural-urban. I've had a lot of conversations about whether or not rural-urban really plays into these calculations with the Fair District Amendment. It really does not. But what does is political interest and performance, how you've performed in past and general and primary elections. So I guarantee you, I'm going to tell you kind of where we're at. These are workshop maps. We, again, Mr. Chairman, session starts January 11th. I've talked to both the redistricting committees today. They will be, they don't have the schedules yet. Calendars are not out, but they anticipate the first 2 weeks of session, they'll be holding meetings on these maps, and probably a committee bill, a proposed committee bill, will be drafted with the selection. The only people who can offer amendments are people on the committees. Representative Tant's on a committee, Representative Walsey's on a committee. I'm not speaking for them. I know that, kind of which maps they prefer, and certainly they're articulating that. And the same goes for members around the state. The House members were told to review the 2 maps over the break, come back, make some recommendations. But the recommendations have to be in a full map. So as you can imagine, trying to adjust your map in Leon County with something in Tampa, move that balloon around, it's very challenging. So these PC bills will be filed. I can anticipate just talking to that the Democrats will file their own bills, in total, to try to make some sense out of this. And I think all of the arguments have to be based on those Tier 1, Tier 2 considerations. I will tell you that the League of Women Voters and Fair Districts and others have examined these maps and feel that they're in violation. Potentially, the House maps in particular are in violation of minority access, language access as well. My assumption, talking to people, is that they'd like to pass these maps early, right? Early in the session. We run from January 11th to the first part of March. In order to get them cleared out, they assume they'll be challenged, right, by the courts. But qualifying for these seats is June 13th through 17th. If it gets held up, then your race, your campaign, is in jeopardy. You won't know really what seat you're running in, as it were, statewide. So that's basically the status. It's been a fascinating process, and it's complicated, as I meant. As Andy inferred, I know Wakulla County took a position, I think last night, on supporting one of these House Map 5. They felt that it maintained the integrity, maintained the integrity of the rural community. Their counties around which they have a representative speaking, rather than having a piece of Tallahassee dominate, the issues. So I'll leave you with that, and happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Minor has represented Leon County along with Mayor Daley before one of those redistricting committees, and I certainly would appreciate some juncture Commissioner Minor stepping up and giving us a sense of your picture of what is occurring and what were you and Mayor Daley arguing for or against. I want to know specifically in terms of communities of interest, how does Representative Schoaf get to represent 32304? The issues that we heard earlier from Sheriff McNeil does not comport with his political persuasion. And we've been a hell of a way to have a Republican representative who now serves a Republican to come and take over District 1. That just is a problem. And I don't think that based upon my interactions with Republican leadership over the years, it's just been stone silence, indifference, aloofness. And it's not a comfortable fit for 32304 to be under Representative Schoaf. That's a problem to me. It appears that we're being diluted, and it also appears that you're creating a district in which minority access is not available. And we just cannot, with silence, allow that to be our best response. Commissioners, if you have questions of either of these gentlemen, acknowledge and recognize you. Commissioner Minor, you've been at the table. You will start with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And yes, I did speak at the Legislative Subcommittee for the House. I think it was December 4th. But just to clarify, I didn't speak on behalf of the entire County Commission, because obviously we have not discussed this prior to that point. I introduced myself as a County Commissioner for District 3, so I just want to make that very clear. What I said to the subcommittee members was that very much what you touched on, Mr. Chairman, is that right now the current maps have House District 8 and House District 9. Both of them have an urban core focus. And I zeroed in on 32304, the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, and how both of those maps have a core focus where legislators, our local legislative delegation, are very concerned about helping us with poverty issues of the nature of that in 32304. In fact, I even said during my time as CEO of Second Harvest of the Big Bend, legislators would come in to volunteer at the food bank because they wanted to understand those issues of urban poverty that we have here in Leon County. Now, with the current map as it is, House District 8 and House District 9 have that urban core focus. And both of those maps, both of those districts currently they share 32304. Map number 7, which is the one that Andy showed up here earlier, is very similar to that. You have both House District 8 and 9 still continuing to share that urban core focus, and they still share 32304, the zip code. Map 5 basically flips that, where you now have House District 8 and the rural-focused House District 7 then sharing 32304. So we're going from the current map of both legislators being focused on core urban issues in Tallahassee to map 5, which proposes that half of 323, or a portion of 32304 would be focused on District 8, and the other half would be focused on District 7. What I told the subcommittee was that we need to have a an urban core focus entirely on our poverty issues in this town. We've got that now. It works well. Our legislators work with us. They seek to understand and then help us with these issues related to poverty. What would be detrimental to us working together in solving these issues of poverty would be if we had part of our poverty areas actually represented by a district that had a rural focus. And so that was a big part of what I talked about. And I understand how the Tier 1 and Tier 2 constitutionally must be met. My argument there was the subcommittee believes both MAP 5 and MAP 7 meet those Tier 1 and Tier 2. So therefore, there's a third Tier 3, which is what I think is the rural versus urban nature of those maps. It does sound like Wakulla County Commission last night did vote to reject MAP 5, which is basically taking the rural focus and putting that into 32304. And I believe it was supporting MAP 7 as well, explicitly.
Correct. Yes, sir.
What I'd like to do, if this body is willing, is move for a resolution along those lines, because while we are concerned in making sure that MAP 5, while we're concerned in making sure that whatever the end result is, has legislative districts with an urban core focus, the rural counties surrounding us want the opposite. They want to make sure that their representatives have a rural focus so that they can focus on issues pertaining to them. So I'd like to have a motion for a resolution to that effect, explicitly rejecting MAP 5 in the House district and then supporting MAP 7 or something like it. Because as you said, these are workshop maps. What the end result might be in January might be something different. But I think it's very clear, it needs to be very clear for us in the resolution that we reject the nature of 5 and support the essence of what MAP 7 is. So that's a long version of my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Mr. Administrator, did you capture? Okay. Is there a second? Okay, Commissioner Dozier has seconded Commissioner Minor's motion that we adopt the resolution be directed to the appropriate legislative sources, indicating those dynamics which he's outlined. Are there other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, I'll reflect the sort of antithesis of that. My District 4 would be, swung way out into under MAP, is it 5? MAP 5 is the one that sprawls it out. It would take the heart of my Leon County Commission District and swing it way out into the rural parts of the Panhandle. So I will definitely support the motion, but obviously would prefer if we could keep, our House representation closer to Leon County, but specifically Northeast Tallahassee, where, we have a pretty substantial voter turnout. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments made already, and thank you guys for the presentation and for hanging in here with us, Jeff. So back to the Tier 1, Tier 2, and forgive me, you're going fast, but keeping our communities intact. That is a big piece of the fair districts, correct? You're nodding, Andy. So I think that in itself is what I read into, and forgive me, Commissioner Minor, what we're passing down the line here is the Wakulla County letter that was passed last night, 4-1 at their commission. That was part of the focus of the Wakulla County Commission, and I have checked in with 2 of our 3 representatives, and I think this is pretty significant, that we have an area that is represented by both Republicans and Democrats. We have counties that lean both ways, and we're all feeling kind of the same way. For Wakulla County, they really want to focus a representative who focuses on the rural area. That is as significant as we may say 32304 and the urban issues are. We know how challenging it is for these representatives to cover large territories. In our region, in the Appalachia region, we always have the largest territories for anything, whether it's career source, continuum of care, whatever it might be. Our population is low, so we get the largest territory for any of these. And it does present a unique challenge to us. So keeping our House districts in line as much as possible with our communities, with the cities and counties within this territory and with similar issues. I think Representative Schoaf, he's communicated with me a lot, and we talked a lot about the rural issues and the Regional Planning Council. I really appreciate his efforts in that area, and that really is where he wants to stay focused. So again, I think this is a really good point, kind of to show where our region is, that it is bipartisan, which that's where we should be arguing on these maps, is from a bipartisan, as you said, perspective. And so I second the motion on the table. I certainly would like to have some statement from this board, and walking in lockstep. I was thinking about your common phrase, Mr. Chair, walk with Wakulla County. We're going to walk with them, right? It is a really strong message from our region. The only question that I have is whether a letter like Wakulla County Commission issued or a resolution would be better. And Mr. County Administrator, maybe I need to look towards you about our policy and whether or not we could approve a resolution this evening, or if we needed to waive rules or anything of that nature.
I'll defer to the county attorney, but I don't believe that we need to, since it was agended. So please.
Okay. Because it was
That's
agended.
correct. Nothing would have to be waived.
Okay. It was, thank you, ma'am. And Mr. County Administrator, I was thinking of a time when it's not on the agenda. So because we have this issue, we can do the resolution. So I think that is great. I would only add to that, sharing language, and I hope Wakulla does this as well, with our other counties in our region. I think it may not have another commission meeting, but I think it would be good to share the language in our resolution, Wakulla County and others, because I think they would agree with this perspective. So, thank you.
Very good. Other commissioners, voices? Okay. Ms. Vice Chair.
Just on point, Wakulla County did a letter, not a resolution, correct?
Correct.
Do we want to move in the way of a letter or a resolution? Which one gets us the furthest down the road of where we're trying to go? I think the motion itself is for a resolution, correct? Jeff, can you speak, or Andy, can you speak to that? Which would be better in this?
We're happy to do either one, Commissioner. I think if the board adopted a resolution, we could get that turned around very quickly, and we could, in the same way as a letter would. But if the motion is for a resolution, we're happy to do that.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I believe the resolution reflects all of us. The chairman's letter from Wakulla simply is from the chair. And while I would represent the board, but I think that we should be a body, and I think that resolution does that. Yes.
It's my understanding that Commissioner Thomas, he brought this issue up in a Facebook post and said he was going to introduce it last night, so they did not have it on the agenda. I'm not sure if they have the same rules that we do, but they may not have been able to pass a resolution last night because it was introduced at the meeting. So because you added it to the agenda, I think this is a stronger message in a resolution.
Very good. Okay. We thank you very much for the input that's been shared. Thank you, Ms. Sharkey. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for your report. A motion has been placed by Commissioner Minor for a resolution reflecting and capturing ingredients from Wakulla that we are in consent on the item of number 7, I believe. Commissioner Dozier, second that. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposers? It passes unanimously. Thank you all so much. Very much. Ms. Administrator Wellen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, now that places you on the consent agenda. And Commissioners, you've got 2 items pulled, items 7 and 26.
All right, Commissioners, is there a motion for the remainder of consent? Motion second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 7 is a request to schedule the first and only public hearing to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 10 of our Code of Laws entitled Closed Basin Standards, and that would be scheduled for January 25th. This item was pulled by Commissioner Dozier. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would otherwise support this item, but for two issues. One, it did go to our Science Advisory Committee and the Quality Growth Committee, but the Water Resources Committee has not yet seen this item. So just in our practice, I mean, they typically see an item like this. And secondly, we all got a notice that we've postponed the larger water discussion. This was, I'm struggling now, I don't want to say it's the watershed management plan because we're kind of moving off that name, but that's been postponed until January. And I thought, I really see no problem with this issue. I mean, the proposed public hearing and the issue that's going to come before us. But it would probably be good to get the Water Committee to look at this and to move the public hearing to February meeting, just so we can take up that larger issue first. So that would be my motion, Mr. Chair, to approve this for a February public hearing and ask staff to take it to the Water Resources Committee before that public hearing.
Very good. We have a motion as a second. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dozier that we move this back out to February, thus allowing two standing committees a chance to review, make comment on the issue of the closed basin. Are there other comments at all? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Okay, all opposed, passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 26 is a status report on the cultural resource review process. This item was also pulled by Commissioner Dozier. Again, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. County Administrator, I could speak, or Mr. Chair, I could speak to this, but do we have any speaker cards in for this item?
Thank you, Commissioner. I didn't see that. Appreciate
Not a problem, Mr.
I wasn't anticipating it because of it being on consent, but we do, and thank you for that. We've got two items, or two speaker cards that have been submitted on this item. If you'd like, Mr. Chair, or...
I'm sorry, the chair was meditating. What are you saying?
Sorry. On this item, we have two speaker cards.
Very good. Well, let's recognize our speakers.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, first, Speaker Mary Glowacki.
I was going to say good afternoon, but I see it's now evening, so good evening. My name is Mary Glowacki, and I am a former state archaeologist, and currently I oversee a nonprofit archaeological foundation here in Tallahassee. I'm also a longtime member of the Panhandle Archaeological Society Tallahassee, past, and a relatively new member of the Blueprint CAC. But today, I am speaking on behalf of the Tallahassee Historical Society as I serve as its treasurer. I represent the board and its membership in supporting a permanent archaeology position shared by the county and the city. The Tallahassee Historical Society was founded in 1933 and has been operational ever since. Its early membership included many movers and shakers, very esteemed individuals of the community who recognize the value in preserving its history. As its mission is to foster a deeper understanding of and appreciation for the history of Tallahassee, Leon County, and surrounding area. This recommendation of an archaeological position is in clear alignment. This region has deep history, dating back as early as the period of European contact, noting its series of capitals, the Apalachee and Jaca, the Spanish mission of San Luis, and the territorial period and state capitals are but one example. So, our view is this. Archaeological history can be ephemeral. To miss it may well be to lose it. It is an important, non-renewable resource that can only enrich our lives as local and state residents as well as lives of the many visitors. Archaeology does require expertise, as would any science, which both the city and county employ in other fields. And it can be effectively and expediently carried out in tandem with development. In brief, an archaeologist for this region is a minor investment in the quality of life we all want to experience in our community. And to quote the Historical Society's website and the distinguished author, William Faulkner, the past is never dead. It's not even past. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker, Lonnie Mann.
Mr. Mann, if you state your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Lonnie Mann, and I'm representing the Panhandle Archaeological Society at Tallahassee. Our organization has been in existence for over 20 years. We have over 100 members who are devoted to preserving our rich archaeological heritage in this county. Now, for many years, the Leon County Land Development Ordinance and the Natural Resources Inventory have been implemented through the Florida Division of Historical Resources, which reviewed development plans and subsequent reports on possible effects to cultural resources. While cultural resource management firms, these are commercial firms hired by developers, coordinated the field work to assess the presence of archaeological sites on proposed work areas. The DHR review of the resulting reports was an essential element in providing an independent, I emphasize independent, evaluation of development's impact on our cultural resources. DHR recently informed the county that as of November 23rd, it would no longer conduct these independent reviews. In fact, we were the only county for whom they had done that, and they had done so for over 20 years. County staff has been working diligently to find solutions to this issue. We've worked with Mr. Wilcox, who's a joy to work with, and his staff. But we find that the staff recommendation may have a highly problematic element for the same reason that the county would never accept a drainage plan from a developer without having it vetted by its own professional staff, just like we do with plants and drainage and whatnot. You would never accept an archaeological report that had not been vetted by in-house expertise. Consequently, PAST offers the following recommendations: that the proposed interim policy remain in place for as little time as possible during that interim period, that the county contract with an independent non-CRM archaeologist to review recommendations and reports submitted by CRM consultants. That the county work with the city of Tallahassee to establish a professional archaeologist position within place, and that it do so prior to setting the 23 budget. This new position would not only provide superior and consistent support for the current NFI process, it would add value by documenting cultural resources on city and county properties, identifying historic cemeteries, providing on-site consultation to developers, and developing archaeological predictive models.
That means your time is up.
Okay, sorry. I had a nab.
Commissioners, are you all hot up here? Is anybody hot? Okay. I know that we're fortunate. We have the air conditioning on, 10, 11 days before Christmas. Who has that air conditioning in December? But a number of people are coughing and can keep coughing, and I'm pondering, is it the temperature of the room? We could probably warm it up a little bit than where we are. That gentleman was having, I think it due to the nature of his administration, we can warm this room up just a little bit. We're in December. We know the air conditioning works. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt agenda item number 26?
I'm sorry, we got to public comments, but I hadn't yet made my comments about why I pulled this item. So if I can get to that, and then we don't have a motion on the floor yet.
Okay, good. I was seeking
Is that
one.
okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. And I will go quick because this is a long meeting, and thank you all for hanging in with us, even to the consent items and other speakers to come. So this issue, it may seem like not as big a deal as some things that we tackle. And I'm going to say that in the past, it may not have seemed that. But in recent years, we have seen particularly incredible work done reclaiming the history in African American cemeteries in various areas. And we found one under a golf course. We found one in Milani and other places. So we know we have a lot of history that is yet to be discovered and marked. And as new development, which is good for us in many ways, as it increases, we are going to have more of these sites in danger, quite frankly, or redeveloped. I will also add that if there are sites downtown that are redeveloped that didn't have this kind of study in the past. So to me, this is a really important issue. And I think I may have mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it one more time. There are times when we can look at this as kind of critical of builders and developers that and the proposal on the table is to have them hire their own firm to do this work. I actually am a product of my father's company, Mad Dog, and people still talk about Mad Dog stopping a job site on Lafayette when they discovered the first winter encampment for DeSoto. I mean, that they were working on that site when they found artifacts and they stopped the work. So I want to compliment, there are a lot of contractors and developers out there who pay attention to this and do stop. But getting this early review is really critical for us so we don't get into disturbing these sites. I really love your comment, Lonnie, that Short Berry is a joy to work with for all of us. Absolutely. I'm sure the county administrator loved that. And I can't see you, Barry, you're behind the podium, but I'm sure I got a laugh out of you. I do want to compliment our staff. Y'all have, and everyone I've talked to, all the citizens involved in this, have been very complimentary of our staff. So I think that's great. And y'all been looking for different solutions, and we see that in the item. County doesn't have very many projects every year. If we get into a full-time position, this needs to be in tandem with the city. We absolutely, that's where we're going to find most of these sites, is within the city limits. That's where most of the development is. So I would prefer a different option for an interim, but if we don't have the city, I'm going to use the chair's phrase again, walking with us on this one, then we may not be able to move forward with hiring an interim consultant as is recommended, or even going to the full-time right now. So, Ms. County Administrator, I wanted to see, and this may be a question from Barry, I'm not sure, there was one suggestion about some training. If we're using existing staff to review a document provided by a developer and the consultant they hire, there is additional training that we could provide for some of our existing staff so that they know what they're looking at and whether or not this is a sound report that comes to them during this interim. Is that a possibility that we could explore?
Let me ask Barry to come up and provide a response to that. Barry?
The simple answer is yes, Commissioner. We could work with actually the folks from here today to put together some trainings for both our biologists and our engineers to help with that interim process and ensure that they have a basic understanding of what it is that they're looking at as it comes from those private consultants.
Okay. Thank you for that. I will add that into my motion in a minute because I would like to look at that training, whether or not it needs to come back to the board or if we could give direction now. I think that is the least we could, we could do at this point if we can't get to another consultant. But I still believe strongly that we should move forward with a permanent position. And one of the things, as you, I know we all received a letter from Mr. Mann, and you've seen in the item, other counties have these positions, and they help a lot. They can do on-site consultation. They can help us when we discover a new cemetery or something else. There's a lot of other benefit to having a position like this other than just the plans review. So I still think we should encourage the city to work with us on this and get a full-time position, even in FY22, if the city were to take that up, if not FY23. So with that, I would like to make the motion, Mr. Chair, to accept the report and have staff work with others to come up with training for those who will review these plans and the documents on an interim basis, and then ask our county administrator to have another conversation with the city manager about this, and if there is a mayor-chair meeting, to bring this up in the mayor-chair meeting. I think it's that significant, and I would hope the city commission would see that as well. So that would be my motion.
Commissioner Dozier offers a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, Commissioner Welch seconds that. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. It passes unanimously. Our next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that puts us on citizens to be heard on non-agenda items. We have 3 speaker cards in. The first speaker is Stanley Sims.
My name is Stanley Sims. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to talk on both of my issues. In reference to the sheriff homicide report, I take that personal. I have 3 numbers. I was born and given a social security number. Then when I got in trouble, Leon County gave me a SPIN number, 3773. When I continued to get in trouble, the Department of Correction gave me a DC number, 562238. You don't remember those things. You remember those things because of Countdown. You say it a whole lot. I was very blessed because Tallahassee is very blessed because we have a sheriff. Not only did he house me in Leon County, but he housed me in DOC. And Mr. Welch, I was glad to hear one main thing about that report that you don't hear often, and that's law enforcement acknowledging that they have not won the trust of the people that they are trying to change. While I was in prison, an ex-felon, I worked in the reentry as a facilitator. I'm walking this because this is not something that I'm reading. This is something that I'm living and have lived. I have 2 boys, black, 22 and 27. And it's hard out here for my children. It's challenging out here for my children because what you guys don't realize is when I was growing up, Commissioner Cummings, I had to get my lesson because if I didn't get my lesson, I would have to go to summer school. And I didn't want to go to summer school because I wanted a summer job, because if I didn't get a summer job, I would not have new school clothes. Economics. These kids don't have nothing, and they're not blind. They see sneakers that cost $200. The answer to this crime is economics. Economics. The late Jim King said these words, Mr. Welch, and he's a Republican. I worked with him on Senate Bill 9 about trying to ease the transition of prisoners coming back into this town. He said, desperate people do desperate things. And until this city treats homeless people, ex-felons, as neighbors in need of help. I had a sidebar with Mr. Jimbo. Everybody, I'm going closing right now because I don't feel well. I got to get something to eat. Just give me 2 seconds, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, if you had enough jobs right now, Commissioner Cummings, to give every homeless man a job, that still would not work. Where is she at? Miss Karen? She may be gone. There she is. That lady has a guy that sleeps on her porch. Miss Cummings, you have him every now and then. If you walked up to those people and say, I got you a job, I got you a place, Mr. Welch, that still ain't the answer because there are other mitigating factors. We had a program called Cure Violence a couple of years ago. It would have cost us $1 million. Now it's going to cost us $3 million.
You on my credit card extensively. All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Next speaker, Robert Blackledge.
Mr. Blackledge, welcome, Leon County Commission.
Robert Blackledge, Tallahassee, Florida. Thank you so much for having us today and all that you do for our community. We truly appreciate it. I'm the Executive Director at W Station. We're located in a county building at 914 Railroad Avenue. We're currently experiencing a growth stroke for what we're doing in this community. It's incredibly exciting. One of the biggest things is utilizing the space as best we can, being a county building. So as a board, we made the decision to pursue support to do renovations to that location. So what I'm asking is that you add us to your agenda next meeting so that we can request that support from you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our next speaker.
The next speaker is Gary Hudson.
Mr. Hudson, welcome to Leon County Board of County Commissioners. State your name and address.
Thank you. Gary Hudson. I'm at 4938 Pimlico Drive, Tallahassee. And the issue that I would like to submit to you this evening has to do with the Waste Pro management trucks that are dumping lots of oil on all of the streets in my neighborhood. I submitted a certified letter to this body last Friday. I put it in the mail, and I'm sure you have it by now with some attached photos. And the photos show on numerous places all over the streets that I live on and streets behind me where there is oil just everywhere. The letter that I submitted to you, I just want to, for a little context, give you. I mentioned the fact that I run a small business out of my home. It's a guitar repair shop. And by the way, I'm on the last day of my vacation today. I took 4 days off, and I generally work 6 days a week because there's a lot of guitars to fix. Over the past several months, in fact, to be exact, 6 months, I've been in discussions with Emery Smith from your office, who is, I understand, is in charge of the Waste Pro account. And he always tells me every time I call him, and this has been going on since May, I've got all these texts. He always tells me that I'm going to reach out to Waste Pro and they're going to take care of the problem. But they come out and they clean up a little bit of it. Maybe on one street they'll clean up like 1/3 of the oil and leave all the oil there. Now, this oil is leaking from their hydraulic system. It's hydraulic oil. It's very slick. And so the last that I heard from him was yesterday, was that something was going to be done about this, that he was going to go down there this morning and he was going to make sure that they went out yesterday and cleaned everything up. Well, I've got pictures that I've taken this morning at 10:30, and I've got like 19 pages here of stuff just from the block 6554 to 6509 on Iron Liege. It's dated. Here are all the photographs, and I'm going to leave this here for the commission. And I had everything on that block I've taken pictures of, and I didn't get all the oil spots, but you can see the white substance here, and you can see new oil in that substance. As soon as they come out and clean up the oil, they dump new oil down again. This happens week after week after week after week, month after month. The problem isn't going away. It's not being dealt with. Okay? So I just beg of you, please have something done about this before somebody slips and falls, hurts themselves. We have a lot of senior citizens that walk on these streets where there are no sidewalks. And my wife and I, when we went for a walk today, we had to actually walk around and dodge all the oil spots in the road. And it's not just these two roads, it's in the roads all around my area. It's everywhere.
And if I might ask a question, you saying that Waste Pro puts this oil down?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Staff, I want to ask if you please look at the area of Pimlico and look at the pictures and let's get a review, and Waste Pro needs to tighten up. Please notify them that we don't want them dropping oil in nobody's neighborhood.
Commissioner, if I may, follow up on that. The roads that are the most affected right now are the street beside mine. I live on a corner lot, Iron Liege and Tim Tam, which all these photos are from. They came out to my street right in front of my house and put down all of this. The most cleanup that's been done has been done right in front of my house. It's like they're trying to take care of me is the problem.
Yes, sir. Okay, we heard you, and we're going to follow up, and we can get a copy of those documents you have, and Pimlico. That's your district, Commissioner Welch. That's over by Robert School. Yeah, we got to have a higher standard than that. Okay. Mr. Hudson. I need to ask you a question, sir, before you leave. I'm going to leave the desk. Mr. Chairman, if you would carry. Ms. Hudson, I want to ask you right here.
All right, Commissioners, we'll move on now to general business. Mr. Administrator, item number 33, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, just switching the technology here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item provides a report on the public health and safety issues related to homelessness, as well as a series of policy options to address these issues should the board wish to do so. As discussed in the item, Commissioners, and as you all know well, the county has received increasingly frequent reports of individuals sleeping in public places and a number of other issues that are addressed in this item. This is an emerging issue in the community, so we're bringing this issue for you today so that we can address these activities on a proactive basis. Based on the experiences of other local governments throughout the country, these activities often intensify rapidly in communities if they're left unregulated, and this places a tremendous strain on public health, social services, law enforcement, and law enforcement resources to serve the homeless population as well as the community at large. Now, we lead in this item, and you'll see through the numerous pages in this item, with all of the services that we offer in the community. And of course, the board is very well aware of all of that. This, again, presents some policy options for you all to consider on the other side of that, which is in terms of regulation. Should the board wish to consider an ordinance addressing these activities, the item provides a series of policy options which reflect a multifaceted approach that includes enhancing both outreach and enforcement consisting with legal and constitutional requirements. Accordingly, Commissioners, the item seeks policy direction as to whether the board would like to consider a draft ordinance at your December 14th meeting that addresses any or all of the following. Camping or sleeping in public areas, including whether such an ordinance would apply county-wide or only in the unincorporated area. Soliciting of any kind in the medians or otherwise with anyone in a vehicle that is on the right-of-way, which would apply in the unincorporated area only as the city currently has an ordinance that addresses that activity within the city limits. And urination and defecation in public areas, including whether such an ordinance should apply county-wide or in the unincorporated area. This item recommends the board direct staff to develop a draft ordinance to repeal the county's existing ordinance, which prohibits the selling of items or panhandling within the roadway and on medians. The sheriff's office has suspended its enforcement of an ordinance based on recent federal court rulings, as the item describes in detail. And finally, Commissioners, the sheriff's office has requested funding to support 2 homeless street outreach or host deputies whose responsibilities would focus on enhancing law enforcement outreach services and resources, knowledge and training specific to assisting homeless individuals. And as a reminder, Commissioners, as you saw in the memo that we distributed yesterday, the sheriff has requested that the board consider an additional option 5 for this item. Option 5 would approve the sheriff's funding request for the 2 host deputies and defer the development of the ordinance at this time. Under option 5, the sheriff would provide a report to the board in 6 months after the host deputies have been deployed, and staff would prepare a status report on the effectiveness of the host deputies, again working embedded with our outreach teams for the board's consideration at that time. Before I conclude, Commissioners, I want to take a moment to emphasize that the policy options presented in this item are not intended to criminalize persons based on their status, such as being homeless. In fact, over the past several decades, the federal courts have established that laws or ordinances that criminalize persons based on their status, as opposed to regulating specific actions or conduct, are unconstitutional. And frankly, criminalizing homelessness would be inconsistent with the extensive efforts the county has made over many years in coordination and to maximize investments in homelessness programs and services alongside a variety of community partners. Instead, Commissioners, the policy options presented in this item would address specific activities which impact public safety, health, and welfare of the county's residents and visitors, while at the same time enhancing our ability to connect people with available housing and services. In conclusion, Commissioners, the policy options presented in this item provide a proactive, lawful, and multifaceted approach to regulate certain enforceable activities. And with that, Commissioners, and I should have said at the outset here, and I know, as you all know, the County Attorney's Office has done a tremendous amount of the heavy lifting on this item, and either of us would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And with that, we'd welcome any policy direction that you may have for us at this time. And again, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And let me look to see here real quick to see if there are any. We have 2 speakers on this item. We may have lost one. I've got Stanley Sims and Karen Woodall, and I think we saw Mr. Sims leave. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, we've got 1 speaker on this item, Karen Woodall.
Thank you. As Ms. Woodall comes up, let the record reflect Mr. Sims gave his comments during his earlier comments, as he said he had to leave. Ms. Woodall, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
This evening. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am. You get 2 minutes.
Karen Woodall, my work address is 603 North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and I use that work address because that's why I'm here speaking on this issue. First of all, I'm really glad I was here to hear the whole very thoughtful discussion and report from Sheriff McNeil and all of the interest and really working together to address those issues. In my over 40 years of doing this kind of work, I started when I was 6, I have developed a mantra these days of connect the dots. And this issue about public safety and homelessness relates to the earlier conversation and the need to work together. I would encourage you not to spend any energy on ordinances that try to get around the federal rulings by saying, of course, that anybody who urinates in public would be subject to being in trouble, so it wouldn't be targeting homeless people. But listen, being homeless takes away all dignity. People go to the bathroom in public when they're homeless because they have nowhere else to go, literally. We're all working. I know you're working hard on getting more supportive housing, more permanent housing, additional shelter, but we're not there. Your reports show that everybody's maxed out. People are on wait list. The young man that Stanley mentioned that sleeps on my sidewalk has been there for over 2 years, and it took a while to get him to sign up for something. He's been on a wait list for many months. It's no criticism of the people who are doing great work. we don't have enough facilities for people to go to. I would urge you to look at, rather than ordinances around people using the bathroom in public, why don't we put portalets around the community where people are? They have nice ones. They have to be serviced. Ross, I found out today, Ross on Appalachia Parkway has 2 portalets right in front of their store. They have hand washing facilities there. That's because there's homeless people there that go into public establishments and need to use the bathroom. So there are creative ways to address needs that would be instant and visible. You could have patrol cars go by at night. Somebody has to staff it. Additionally, the need for transitional housing is immediate. We don't have time to just wait to build stuff. Got to be creative. Purchase some hotels. Staff them, just like we did in the pandemic when you had to close the shelter. There's a very critical need. And just quickly, because I heard the beep, the sheriff's request for outreach workers, while I support wholeheartedly the direction he's going and what he's doing, you've got a whole mess of outreach workers out there. I'm sure they're not getting paid $60,000, $70,000 and they don't have a car. And the problem is you can do services, connect people to services, but talking about connecting them to housing that doesn't exist is frustrating for everybody involved. So I just encourage you to try to think outside the box and do some creative, immediate getting of housing that people can go into. And then you take the problem away of going to the bathroom in public too, because people have a bathroom in their home. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move right into any more speakers.
We have no more speakers.
All right, we'll move right into the item. I have Commissioner Dozier and then Commissioner Cummings, and then I believe Commissioner Minor and then Commissioner Welch. I got everybody. Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Cummings, and then I'll get over there to see what's going on. Commissioner Dozier, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This is a pretty robust item, and really appreciate understanding some of the legal issues and others that are highlighted here that I don't think we've seen before. So for both County Administrator, County Attorney, thank you both for your hard work on this. And Karen, thank you, for referencing the Sheriff's presentation. I mean, there's a lot of things that overlap here, including our upcoming item on CHSP. Finally, I want to recognize Jonna Coleman here from the Big Bend Continuum of Care. Thank you, ma'am, for all of your hard work and for your board and your staff. Really appreciate it. My position on this, the option number one, I think we need to repeal the ordinance as it is, just to bring us into compliance. I really have a lot of concerns about any other kind of ordinance right now. When I looked at some of these details, even a $15 fine for someone who is experiencing homelessness can get them into the legal system, into the justice system. I mean, we've all heard those stories about these fines adding up over time. And I don't really think it's solving any issues for that individual or helping them out, nor really the businesses or residents that might be having concerns at sometimes. So with that, I appreciate the sheriff's statement, which we got today, asking us to kind of hold off on that, on any other types of ordinances. I think, we're kind of seeing some synergy there, and others I've talked to kind of agree that there are other approaches we could take than getting into this. We're not criminalizing the behavior, I know that, but it could be leaning in that direction, and that's just really challenging for me. I have heard some good questions about the spending money on the 2 deputies, the 2 positions, the hosts, and if that money could be applied in different places, kind of what those folks could do. I recognize, those questions are valid, but I do think embedding those folks in, in this period with the outreach teams could be interesting. It could be a nice option. And if they are specifically trained to help connect folks to services along with the outreach team, that could be very beneficial. but we also get calls from businesses and residents at times. So having someone respond who is more sensitive to those issues and that doesn't escalate this into an arrest or something, again, goes back and keeps these folks out of the justice system even more, hopefully getting them into the services that they may want or need. So, Mr. Vice Chair, I'm actually content waiting to hear other comments, but if you want a motion, I didn't make it right off the bat, as you always appreciate, but yes, I will go ahead.
I do. That's actually the rule,
Yes,
right?
it is,
Madam
Mr. Vice
Attorney?
Chair.
We need a motion.
So I will make a motion for discussion purposes. I would welcome any amendments or anything like that throughout this discussion, but for option 1 and option 5 in our revised agenda, that is based on the sheriff's recommendations, and we would wait to develop any other type of ordinance. Again, my hope would be we don't get to that point of developing other ordinances, but I will leave it there, Mr. Chair.
Motion been made for option 1 and option 5 with us waiting to develop any other ordinances. That motion made by Commissioner Dozier. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Motion's been seconded by Commissioner Jackson for discussion.
The very last
Commissioner
thing, Mr. Vice Chair, that I just left out, is Woodall made a very good point. I mean, we can do a bed count. We have different populations, but we also do have a waiting list. We're going to take up an item in a little while on housing assistance and others. I mean, again, it's connecting the dots, right? We had our workshop last summer. We have a housing workshop coming up. We really need to lean in, from my perspective, into that area of new housing options, particularly for permanent supportive, transitional housing, and other types of housing that will help people who are experiencing homelessness find a safe, secure place to live. Thank you.
So we had a bit of a snafu. Chairman Proctor did not clear out the queue, so everybody was up. So what I'll do now is, if you want to speak, could you please let me know at this point? All right, so I have Commissioner Welch, Commissioner Minor, and Commissioner. Okay, let's start with Commissioner Welch. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Vince and Chastity and staff for bringing this item back. I have some concerns with the unhoused population living on sidewalks and living in public property. I would actually, Commissioner Dozier, prefer options 1, 2, and 3 as they're written. Just because my concern is not that, my concern is when we go to folks and we say, we want to give you services, we want to put you and give you some housing, and they don't want that because they've got mental illness or they have substance abuse issues, they're concerned about safety, things like that. I feel like if we allow people to live on our sidewalks, to live on public property, to defecate on the sidewalks, to start fires on the sidewalks, to set up shop on the sidewalks, it creates a substantial public safety issue, not just for the public, but for these individuals. And we had an individual in my district in Bradfordville who was on the sidewalk for somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 weeks. And Shinkton and our teams do a great job going out and talking to these folks and trying to build relationships. But they refuse the services. And I feel like we are doing a substantial disservice to people in our community if we allow them to sleep outside in unsheltered situations. That is not healthy or safe for those people. Yet we allow that to happen. We just kind of say, well, that's their right. But if you're on the sidewalk, people have to walk in the road to get around you. These are very busy intersections. And this is a lady that I'm talking about who's unhoused outside in the rain and the cold. How do we allow that to happen? I can't wrap my head around how we allow people to live like that. Like, there is a hierarchy of needs, right? Food, clothing, and shelter. We have a duty. Everybody's worried about quality of life. What about that person's quality of life? That concerns me greatly, that we just turn a blind eye to that and go, well, they've got mental illness or or whatever. So I look at these options and I think, obviously option one is good. I want to see a draft ordinance. I have the full confidence in the county attorney that she's not going to bring us a draft ordinance that is unconstitutional. We're not trying to arrest homeless people. We want to do everything we can to get people safe, to get people sheltered, to get people fed, to get people the mental health services they need, to get them the substance abuse services they need. When folks are setting fires on the sidewalk, living on the sidewalk, setting fires, defecating on the sidewalk, sleeping on the sidewalk, sleeping in carts on the sidewalk, sleeping in intersections near turn lanes in Commissioner Jackson's district. I live in a district with hundreds of high school drivers who at any moment can hop a curb and take somebody out like lickety-split. And I mean, we had an individual in my district for 6 weeks plus that was mere inches from the road, sleeping at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m., at 6 a.m., at 7 a.m., cars whizzing by her head. This is very dangerous. How do we let people live like this in our community? We have a duty to compel these folks to get shelter, food, and clothing and the services that they need to have a quality of life. I feel like we are derelict in allowing people to live in such dangerous situations. So I see this is as an opportunity to see an ordinance, to see possibilities to serve these people better, because I don't think we're serving these people very well. Obviously, again, the county attorney has been involved in this conversation with what we need to do to get right from an ordinance standpoint. I think it's a great idea to embed 2 new deputies with our street teams, to work with our service providers, to develop the relationships they need to with these folks, so that we can ultimately get these folks to a safe and stable situation. And I get there's nuance, and it perhaps is more complicated than that. But for me, I see this as a step in that direction. So I would prefer, and I'm not going to make a substitute motion right now. I'm going to let you guys know how I feel about it. I would prefer options 1, 2, and 3 as they're written, Mr. Chair, because this is an issue that really, really concerns me. Obviously, with COVID, we saw a proliferation of folks in dire situations. And I don't think it is prudent of us to just let people live like that. It is patently unsafe. And I have a hard time, because I have engaged with the Oasis Center, I have engaged with Kelly-Otti, I have engaged with these entities. I have a hard time going to sleep at night knowing people aren't sleeping under a roof, with cars whizzing by their heads, 16-year-old drivers in my district. I say this jokingly, but I mean, the Child's parking lot's like a demolition derby, guys, at lunch. You can just listen to the crunches and the crashes, all right? And we had people living 24 hours a day on the sidewalk by these cars in a very busy section of town. So, and I know we have these issues all over town. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I would support options 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have Commissioner Minor, I have Commissioner Cummings, Commissioner Jackson, I have Chair Proctor. The chair has asked me to carry the item unless there is objection from the board, and if there is, take it over here. And I like, just on point, real quick, for Commissioner Welch. I was listening to your comments, and one thing that came to mind is I do agree, and I understand, and I get your concern with the folks who are living unhoused and homeless and in their sleeping situations. I was wondering if you could just give me a little bit of a reflection on how the ordinances, or how crafting the ordinances would help with actually housing these folks. I think, if anything, our sheriff has asked us to kind of hold off on it, because I think it is a more complicated issue than creating an ordinance that puts them in a situation where they have to be housed, and us actually having the mechanism, the capacity to house them if we put them in a position where where we're putting them in places where if they do certain things, if they do urinate outside or defecate outside and stuff like that, that they will be held accountable for it. So I was wondering, what kind of ideas or what kind of combination of things can we do to combine the ordinance piece and enforcement with the possibilities of how to give these people the best opportunity to succeed in what they're trying to do in just breathing and living.
Thank you. Are you still Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Vice
Chair.
Chair.
Vice Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. I don't know the answers to those questions. I think that's why you'd ask for a draft ordinance. I think that the problem is if you don't, then you are implicitly allowing people to live like that. You are implicitly saying it's okay to sleep on the sidewalk on public property. It's okay to defecate on the sidewalk. It's okay to set fire on the sidewalk. It's okay to have clear mental breakdowns in broad public daylight. That you're allowing people to live a way that you yourself would not let yourself live. Right. It's like, what are we doing for the least among us? That's my point. Now, again, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the county attorney and the county administrator on how they may not be able to draft an ordinance that creates a solution. All right, or maybe they do, and we have a debate about it, and we don't want to go in that direction. But for me, it's unsettling that we are afraid to have this conversation where we're letting people sleep in dangerous situations on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. They're defecating on the side of the road, and then they're posting it on Instagram. Mm-hmm. How do we let people do that? It's not. We need to help these people. If we don't, it's just like anything else in life. If you don't, we got to be able to help folks in those situations. So if we have ordinances that say you can't solicit in the intersection, but the sheriff doesn't enforce the ordinance about soliciting in the intersection, then you're going to have people standing in intersections with car whizzing by them at 45 or 50 miles an hour. Somebody's going to get killed. Right. So at what point do we stand up as policymakers and at least look at a potential ordinance, give our county attorney and our county administrator the ability to look at a solution? They may not be able to find a solution that fits within constitutional guidelines. Obviously, I would certainly not want to criminalize being homeless. I don't want to create some kind of unconstitutional, ordinance or anything like that, obviously. But we got to do something better to serve these people. Mm-hmm. This is about serving the least among us. Right. And if we let them sit on the sidewalk and start a fire, and everybody drives by and goes, "Oh, isn't that sad?" What are we? You know what I'm saying? So for me, this is an option I think that's been carefully considered, this agenda item. This is not a haphazard agenda item. For me, it's about what are we doing for the least among us to serve their needs. If we are letting them live in squalor, live in danger, abject danger now. We're talking about immediate danger. Females, children living on the streets in the wind and the rain and the cold with cars whizzing by them. How are we allowing that to happen? That's a shame on us as policymakers. So this is just an exploration in my mind, obviously. We're not passing any ordinances tonight. This ain't a public hearing. It's an opportunity for us to let our great staff take a look at a draft ordinance to address any and all of these issues which we know exist that put people in danger. So that's my thoughts on it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. I will say this. I think, ordinances are placed in place to hold people accountable for their actions. Programs are placed in place to help people move past situations that are unfortunate. If we go down this road of 1, 2, and 3, we have to also look at how we're addressing the issues that come with 1, 2, and 3. And I think this kind of reflects where Commissioner Dozier was in that what Ross did with, there's no defecating, no urination in public. They put porta potties out for people to be able to use the bathroom. It's got to be a balance there because, and I think she spoke to this as well. A lot of these people, they don't want. I think Ms. Woodall said this, or Mr. Sims said, some of these people don't want to be housed, or they're just in a situation where and my former chief of staff, Kathy Jones, told me this. Nick, a lot of these people prefer to live in the woods. They prefer to live that way, and so if that's their preference, and we're creating ordinances that don't allow for such, then I think we have to in a way. I think it's our duty as leaders to come up with ways to counteract the balance of what we're creating in that way. So I'm going to go back to Commissioner Welch, and I'm sorry, Commissioner Minor. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm going to go back to Commissioner Welch. There's Minor, Cummings, Jackson, and then Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and I'm sorry, that's about the last thing I'll say. I totally agree with you. I mean, I want to make sure we have capacity, Ms. Woodall. Obviously, if we don't have capacity, that's another conversation. My understanding is we go to folks, they say, we don't want any of your services. Okay, well, what position are we in then? I think I've floated this concept of if you want to live outdoors in Leon County, then, and I've talked to Mr. Carney about this, we could build a campground somewhere that has facilities, that has a fire ring, that has bathroom facilities, that provides a certain level of safety and also a certain level of services. But if we're allowing people to live on public property, let's just live on public property without plumbing, without shelter, without services, without security, we are endangering those people. We're allowing those people to endanger themselves. I mean, that's just the flat out truth. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to talk about programming and funding programming and making sure we have capacity. But I'm under the impression that we have folks who, like you said, just don't want the services, don't want to be sheltered, want to live dangerously. And so I feel like it's incumbent upon us as policymakers to address that issue. I mean, if somebody wants to live in the woods on the edge of a cliff, would we go, okay, we'll just live in the woods on the edge of that cliff, and if you roll over in the night, you're going to fall to your death? Are we okay with that? I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves. It's an existential question, really. And the question is, how comfortable are we letting people live in danger to themselves? And so, yeah, let's have conversations about programming. Let's have conversations about capacity and rapid rehousing and temporary housing and service provision and all that. I absolutely want to do that. I'm just saying, at what point are we going to do something about folks who choose none of that, who don't want any of that, right? Who are going to live in danger to themselves. And that's my concern.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Minor, followed by Commissioner Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I appreciate it. When it comes to folks that are struggling with homelessness, we've got 3 tracks. Track 1 is living out on the streets, status quo. Track 2 is our street outreach team reaching out to them, connecting them with resources, them voluntarily agreeing to those resources. But then in many cases, using these resources to transition to stable housing. That's track 2. Track 3 is incarceration. So what we're talking about is those are the 3 different tracks. With some of the policy changes, if we have ordinances, it's complicated. And the county attorney and Jody Wolkoff and I met today, and the ordinances, in order to comply with Florida statute, are quite complicated, and there are limitations in each of those policy options. It's not quite as simple as passing the ordinance and that's a silver bullet that fixes the problem. It's not anywhere near that simple. But fortunately, this last year, we have invested an unprecedented amount of money into homelessness prevention efforts and assisting folks that are struggling right now. $6.3 million from both the city and the county. And right now, thanks to Jonna Coleman and her team, they are working on establishing that framework with that money. It's going to require some help from the community as well to reconnect with legal services so that folks that have a blemish on their record can get that record expunged. So that can lead to jobs, that can lead to housing. Connecting with landlords so that we can actually create that capacity that we lack right now in terms of stable housing. Hotel vouchers for the temporary situation where someone might need to be in a hotel for a night. And of course, the street outreach teams, which we've talked about at length, which are the people that are going out to these camps, reaching out to folks that are homeless and talking about these resources. And yes, many of them say no. Many of them say no for various reasons. A lot of it is these folks, these members of these street outreach teams, building that trust and asking over and over again and offering their services up. And eventually for some of these folks, they will say yes. Not 100%, but many of them will. So we have a lot of work to do. But that $6.3 million is meant, we'll never get this kind of money in the near future again for these homelessness efforts. So now is our time to take this funding and use this in a way with Jonna and her team leading the way so that we can build the capacity, so that we can have this outreach team and help us, of those 3 tracks, get as many of the folks that are homeless going down track 2, which is connecting them with the resources, building the trust so that they can accept those resources, with the idea of having, maybe not all, but many of them go into stable housing eventually. That's the preferred line. That's what we all want, right? Because the status quo is not working for reasons you described, Commissioner Welch. It's not safe for them to be continuing to live out on the street. Track 3, which is incarceration, is simply just a circle. They go into jail for a few days, they come out, and they're back exactly where they started. Exactly where they started. Track 2 is where we need to focus our effort. We have the funding, the $6.3 million. We need to give it some time to connect the dots, to build that network, to build the capacity. That's why I support option 1 and option 5, because what the sheriff has recommended here is those 2 deputies, which will join the street outreach team. And when I heard this, and I had some discussions with folks around the community, well, if you're doing that, if you have deputies there with the street outreach team, what you're going to do is you're going to see an increase in people going into track 3, that incarceration, because you've got people that are enforcing what's currently on the books. But in the memo that the sheriff's office sent us, they're concerned. The reason why they helped us create a new option 5 was because of their concern of having more people go down that track 3 into incarceration. So based on what the sheriff's office memo tells us, they would like us to allow the 2 deputies to join the street outreach team, which is ramping up and hiring more people anyway. Let those deputies work with the street outreach team. They're mindful already of making sure they don't send people to the incarceration. They know they want to get people connected to resources and into stable housing. Because as the sheriff said in his memo, they don't want to see the increased population in the detention center anyway, either. So that's why I support option 1 and option 5. 6 months from now, the sheriff and his team will present a status report. I hope in that status report, they will tell us, working with John and the continuum of care, the progress on the 3 tracks. How many people are still in the street? How many people are expected? How many people have taken track 2? And how many people, unfortunately, have been in track 3 for incarceration? With those deputies there and the memo that I read from the sheriff, I'm confident that that team together, the outreach team and the deputies, are very cognizant of that cycle of incarceration. That's just spinning our wheels. So based on what the sheriff has said, based on this option 5, I think that's the right choice now. If we need to, I will in the future support us taking a look at ordinances that help us. But again, those ordinances are not cut and dry. It's not a silver bullet. And the Florida statutes that we have to work within don't give us a solid game plan, I believe, to fix all the problems. So that's why I'm supporting option 1 and option 5. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. When I was to speak to the county attorney, I wanted to put on record. The question I asked her was simply, how thin is this needle we're trying to thread when it comes to creating ordinances? And so, and how that line there between allowing people to live in the freedom that they want to live versus us creating these ordinances that allow us to hold them accountable for certain things like defecation and stuff like that in public. So would you give the answer to that question, Madam Attorney, just so we understand just how sensitive this thing is?
Sure. A lot of the activities that are being discussed here this evening are constitutionally protected activities. That changes the legal analysis in terms of what the parameters for what is legally permissible and enforceable. A lot of these issues have been litigated all over the country on numerous occasions. Some of them have been found to be valid based on those particular facts. Some of them have been found to be invalid based on those particular facts. In terms of the solicitation piece, huge First Amendment implications there. If you target a specific type of speech, like charitable solicitations or begging or alms or whatever you want to call it, that triggers strict scrutiny, okay, which almost no ordinance would survive. It would have to be content neutral. It would have to be narrowly tailored to address a compelling government interest, and that is the intermediate scrutiny standard. And there would have to be ample alternative channels of communication. So when you're talking about regulating that sort of speech on or around a road is considered a public forum, okay? And there's a lot of case law out there interpreting what these different regulations can and can't do, okay? It's a very fine line, all right? In terms of the camping and sleeping piece, the 11th Circuit jurisdiction, well, it's the jurisdiction that's binding in this area. The 11th Circuit case, Joel versus City of Orlando, that is covered in the agenda item, tells you clearly where that line is in terms of your ability to regulate conduct as opposed to someone's status, okay? And one of the biggest dispositive issues is about implementation, because the Eighth Amendment right to be free of, I mean, it's basically the right to be free of, I just blanked on the phrase, cruel and unusual punishment, okay? The line there is you cannot criminalize somebody's status. You cannot criminalize somebody for an involuntary act like sleeping, okay? People have to sleep. Some people need more, some people need less, but everybody sleeps. And if they don't have an alternative place to do that, they're going to do it in a public place. So you have to ensure, if you're going to adopt an ordinance, that you have sufficient alternatives. And so if there are alternatives, that becomes a choice. That is the regulation of conduct. Case law out of the 11th Circuit has told us that is permissible. But if you do not have alternatives, you have a problem.
Thank you, Madam County Attorney. Commissioner Cummings, if you'll indulge, the county administrator would like to speak. Mr. Administrator.
Just very quickly, Commissioners, I just wanted to clarify based on a couple of things I heard earlier, and again, just if it's helpful. So obviously, Commissioners, this is a national issue, and we've been, I mean, and you don't want to get too academic on this, I know, but I think we all recognize that this is an issue that has been widely ignored and has compounded over the last 40 or 50 years. And we at the local level, like communities everywhere, are dealing with Band-Aid approaches in dealing with this. And we're, on the resource side of it, we're dealing with resources that will probably never be large enough to actually deal very effectively with the issues, but that's what we attempt to do every day. And that's what and again, we're leading with services with dignity. And what this, again, will allow you to do, and whether you go with the motion on the floor now and decide to defer any consideration to 6 months, again, that's something that you can do, or whether you decide to do it now, again, the whole idea of considering addressing this issue from a regulatory standpoint, and I know you know this, but it bears repeating, just gives you the opportunity to do something, anything as a last resort relative to enforcement. As it stands now, it bears repeating that on any street in Leon County, you could put tents up permanently and sleep there for the homelessness on any street, any residential street, any city street, any state corridor, and there's absolutely nothing that we could do about it from a standpoint. Now, if you don't believe that, I can give you a list of about 10 or 12 cities in the United States. Coincidentally, they happen to be the most out-of-the-box cities in the United States that are suffering with this the worst. And so this just gives you an opportunity, again, to consider, do you want to give, again, understanding that we will be services first, do you want to have that opportunity to address this issue from a regulatory standpoint, to address the conduct from a regulatory standpoint? Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Cummings, Commissioner Jackson, Chairman Proctor, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I want to thank the county attorney and the county administrator for not only this staff analysis in our agenda, but also for the explanation here at the meeting tonight. It seems, well, first of all, we know that homelessness is an issue. It's been an issue for the last year. We've had presentations about homelessness and what we're doing to move the needle from Washington and other, county administrators. We've had written reports, so we know it is an issue. I'm just not in favor of knowing that we've got an issue and not doing anything about it. After reading this analysis and looking at some of the case law, number one, we know that the code that we have on the books is inconsistent with the case law that's been outlined by our county attorney. So knowing that it's inconsistent, I don't believe we can afford to not do anything. Our staff has recommended that we repeal the inconsistent portion of our ordinance, and I believe we need to do that. And in repealing the inconsistent portion of the ordinance, I believe that staff, along with our county attorney, is totally capable of drafting an ordinance that's consistent with the federal case law and the federal law that we know it now. I believe that we would be derelict as elected officials if we omitted that portion of the recommendation and not have anything on the books to direct and control and try to make sure we're doing the best we can in treating our homeless population while at the same time protecting the safety of citizens as well. I share the sentiment of Ms. Woodall, Karen Woodall. She and I both have offices in Frenchtown. My legal office is about a block from hers, and we both have homeless people that sleep on our property, at night. I've had instances with defecation, urination. I don't like coming in the office in the morning, having to walk over it and clean it up, but I understand some of the plight of our homeless population, and I believe in the sheriff's approach of allocating 2 dedicated officers to work with our homeless population, giving them the opportunity to go to some secure housing that the county and the city will make available. And then if they refuse that secure housing, then we can have step-by-step measures to deal with those individuals. Like Commissioner Welch said, it's also a safety issue when you have individuals that are placing themselves in danger and placing the public in danger in our roadways, in our streets. And, we need to control that as best we can, consistent with the law, and also being sensitive to the plight of the homeless, recognizing that some of them do have mental issues. Some of our homeless population do not want housing. They want to be unhoused. They want to live out in the open domain. And that's fine as long as it's not infringing on the rights of others. And I believe we need some type parameters in writing to put them on notice, to put the public on notice of where that line is drawn. So I am in favor of options 1, 2, and 3, because I believe 3 will show that we are certainly dedicated to trying to support the homeless population, and we're not just doing it, talking about it, but we're prepared and willing to dedicate resources, and I understand those resources are available to allow law enforcement to assist us in dealing with the plight of the homeless, Mr. Chair. So those are the items that I would support, 1, 2, and 3, even though I know we have a motion on the floor to accept options 1 and 5, like Commissioner Welch, I would be supportive of options 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. A motion on the floor is for options 1 and 5. There is no substitute. If there is a willingness to make a substitute, I'll hear that out. I have Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Proctor, I'm sorry, Chairman Proctor and Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Jackson, have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. Just a couple of questions. I'm not asking a stupid question, but I think it goes without saying that the $490,000 expense is acceptable under the parameters of the American Recovery Act. I brought this issue up at the last meeting. It did not garner this much conversation. However, I think it's important that you know that I travel that corridor every single day, 5 days a week. It's a very rectangular shaped corridor where most of these public camping and public campsites are located. Appleyard Drive, it's a clear delineation between Appleyard Drive and Ocala Road traveling west, and then probably Jackson Bluff to the south and Tharp Street to the north. It is in close proximity to our homeless shelter. I will tell you that between May 2020 and April of 2021, at the appearance of the sidewalks along that corridor and the number of pedestrian accidents that occurred in that corridor reduced significantly. You'll also recall that that was around the exact same time that the Kearney residents were displaced into other residences over in my good friend Commissioner Minor's district, and were a big part of his North Monroe Street task force issues. Since then, obviously, they've been relocated there. I think of Steve Leone, who is a real estate owner and a landlord all along Pensacola Street. Casa 2000 is right across from the Kearney Homeless Center. Just last Tuesday, there were 41 residents sitting along the fence at Casa 2000. Unmitigated litter, public intoxication, I'm assuming public drug use. I didn't go over and ask for any. However, in a visit there were syringes located on the sidewalk. Recently, we brought up the property that was the closed car wash that was owned by Waffle House in Norcross, Georgia. They immediately put up a security fence, and quickly that security fence had an opening cut in it. So now I guess it's a gated community for the homeless population. And yes, they are openly camping in tents. And yes, they are inches, if not inches, feet from a roadway where there's kind of a perfect storm of college students. And if you'll notice on your map that we were looking at earlier regarding the anatomy of a homicide in Leon County, in the same areas where many of those homicides occurred, there have been 17 pedestrian versus vehicle accidents there. This was my last count, so if I'm wrong by a few numbers, don't crucify me. 17 pedestrian versus vehicle accidents there. 6 deaths. The most recent one was this past weekend at Enon Church Road and Highway 90. I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Welch that we should do something. I also know that it's not against the law to be crazy. It's not against the law to be stupid. And it's not against the law to be homeless. We can't arrest homeless folks because they haven't chosen to choose our options of where to sleep at. But I think we do owe our public, both the homeless public and those that have to interact with them in those areas, a level of safety. When I have to advise my adult daughters to not shop at the Ocala Road Publix after dark because of confrontations with situations that many times have involved homeless folks, even if it were just a simple, innocent act of asking for a few dollars. It is still not simple when it's a 23-year-old young woman with a 6-month-old baby. We do have a duty, and we have to do something. And I can support 1 through 5 with a very hard stop on June 14th that involves data and numbers. I'm thinking of Mr. Leone. He just spent $3 million to redo the facade at Westwood Shopping Center. That includes the new Aldi as well as one of our Tallahassee post offices. He has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in security cameras and still deals with dozens and dozens of complaints every day and every night with issues involving crime that is instigated or a part of the homeless population in that area. I don't have the perfect answer. I want to make that really clear. But I don't think that combining pedestrians that aren't obeying traffic laws or aren't obeying right-of-way laws regarding crossing the street with a young college crowd that's trying to hurry and get home so that they can get ready to go out to the club that night, as well as documented violent crime area that occurs in that same rectangle that I discussed. It is a perfect storm. And for us to ignore it and not do anything, I think would be not performing our duty. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioners, I want to offer a substitute motion of options 1, 2, and 3. I think that puts us in the posture of comments offered by Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Cummings, and Commissioner Welch. B under 5 is a killer. The first word it says is defer. The second word it says is action. Anytime you see two words like that standing side by side, defer action, that means you ain't gonna do nothing. And you're allowing the forces that are emerging in this community on North Monroe Street, Pensacola Street, we're losing areas, losing them, just giving them away for free 99. You say that Macomb Street in Frenchtown used to be like that. The city jacked Frenchtown up, moved people, purchased property. The county itself invested. We have a $15 million down at a Renaissance building. We, quote, clean that area up. But hell, if we did that to Frenchtown, we owe it to every other area as well. And it was in the name of stopping prostitution, in the name of stopping drugs, in the name of all those things, and all of that, we, the government, in particular, municipal government of the city of Tallahassee, has acted strong and went in and tried to activities that were detrimental, not only to the people, but, property values at stake. One of the reasons that the homeless shelter was moved out by the jail, not just the fact that some people frequent both and put them in very close proximity to move from one to the other, but also because property values were shattered with respect to homelessness and all of that downtown Tallahassee. It spilled over into the lady we recognized tonight, probably the second leading shelter, daytime shelter in Tallahassee is our public library. People go in the library and all kinds of things happen. All kinds of things happen in the library when that shelter was there on Tennessee Street. It impacted the Greyhound bus station. When people get off the bus and fresh come into your town and walk directly into panhandlers, something's wrong. And when you're on that corridor, and one of the things Commissioner Minor championed when he got to this board was the need for North Monroe. Mayor Daley has talked about North Monroe corridor changing. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I am a 7th generation Leon County citizen. I don't want to see our county go the way of what the administrator says great American cities are going. So I offer as a substitute motion, Vice Chairman.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, and 3. And I don't ever want to see us deal with issues that say defer action. That's not who we are. So let's not defer action. We get one time to address something on the front end. Man, you got to deal with hard problems. So that's my motion.
Substitute motion for items 1, 2, and 3 has been made by Commissioner Proctor, seconded by, Chairman Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Welch. Yes, sir, then I'm going to go Commissioner Dozier.
I'll be quick. Commissioner Proctor, I understand where you're coming from. However, I can't support the motion because I would like to see what the sheriff's office is able to do in the interim. I think that's only fair based on the promises that have been made in the amended agenda item.
Before I go to Commissioner Dozier, I did want to make that clear, and I'm thinking you may speak on that too, in that this is not to say we're doing nothing. This is us implementing the 2 sheriff's deputies in the host program, seeing how effective that is at addressing the problem, and then coming back in the summer to see if we still have a problem that needs to be addressed. That's what makes me comfortable with moving with 1 and 5, is that we're giving the sheriff an opportunity at his request to see how effective he can be at addressing this problem before we have to implement or put in place ordinances. So if it doesn't work out come this summer, I'm all for 1, 2, and 3. So Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Miter, and then we'll go to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate that clarity. I want to be clear. We have all been contacted by folks, know people who've had experiences ourselves, that could be dangerous, that could be very disturbing, that really tug on us. I mean, you mentioned folks sleeping on the street. The corridor that you're talking about, Commissioner Jackson, on Pensacola, or where your office is, Commissioner Cummings, I mean, those areas have seen higher numbers of homeless folks for decades, for most of my life. I mean, I went to high school in Frenchtown. I mean, that's been, that's been with us for a long time. I was at a meeting at the Kearney Center. I think I was chair of Continuum of Care at the time, back in around 14 or so, or a little after that, I'm not sure. It had opened, and we were seeing all the same challenges with the apartments, with the neighborhood behind the Kearney Center, other places. And what struck me, and I'm not pointing fingers here, but we all did a lot of work, city and county, to support the Kearney Center getting established. But we didn't have trash cans on Pensacola. We didn't connect with the neighbors as well as we should have. We didn't have a coordinated effort. We were playing catch up. And that seems like what we're always doing is playing catch up with these issues. They have been on the table for a long time. I am very concerned with, and I hope you'll forgive me, Commissioner Welch, I'm going to use your language, compelling people to services. I don't believe we can do that. And the trust building that Commissioner Miner mentioned, I believe you brought it up with the street outreach teams. I mean, that's been part of this dialogue across the country for forever. I mean, that is what works. It's the trust building. It's the outreach. Compelling people to do something, that is more of an adversarial relationship. So that's really, I mean, we are trying to address an issue here and help individuals, but also protect public safety. And I absolutely disagree that this is doing nothing. As Vice Chair just said, we are taking action. We're spending money with the sheriff as a partner for 2 positions. We have spent a lot of money allocated it this year for street outreach, for a lot of different issues. And we're still, I think I'm accurate, we don't have as many beds at the Kearney Center now that we had pre-COVID. So we're still kind of working through some of these issues. But I feel like, and Madam County Attorney, if I get this wrong, please chime in, but I think based on our conversations, right, that defecating or urinating in public, the ordinance would do nothing unless an officer saw that action happen. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. So if you use the default penalty for a violation of an ordinance, which is the equivalent of a second-degree misdemeanor, correct. Under state law, section 9.01.15 subsection 1 says that is not the basis, that is, the violation of a county ordinance is not a basis for a warrantless arrest. And what that means is the law enforcement officer has to personally observe the conduct. He has to obtain a warrant. There's a third option to issue a notice to appear, but that's not going to help you with your homeless population because they don't have an address and everything else that would be required for a law enforcement officer to issue a notice to appear. So if that is the penalty, that would be the requirement to actually move forward and enforce the ordinance, yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Commissioner Dozier?
So that is one example of, I'm not sure who said this, but how complicated this issue is. That we could pass an ordinance, but there's a nuance here, there's a nuance there, whether it applies in the city and county or county. And I think, to me, it is compelling to add on to build on to the work we've done this year with the street outreach teams. If others believe, these two deputies who are, trained and embedded with the outreach teams can help in some way. And I would love to see, when we get a call from a business owner or someone else who's concerned with an unsafe situation, this is who we're directing them to because they have the training and they're connected with the resources and with Big Bend Continuum of Care and others. I think we need to give this some time to work because I don't think that ordinance is going to get us where we want to go. I think it's going to be more complicated. And this is where I'll bring it in for a landing, Mr. Chair. I think we are setting a bar. We are promising something to the community that we will not be able to meet because somebody hears this, they're going to think it applies everywhere. And if they come to their office and they see something in the morning, they might be able to take action because they saw somebody there in the evening. That may not be the case. So again, I think this is really complicated, but we absolutely are not deferring to do nothing. We are taking more action. We've taken a lot of action this year, and I think it keeps moving us into that space where we're building trust and helping connect people with services. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Then we're going to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll try to be brief. I really disagree with the notion that this county commission has done nothing or is doing nothing on the homelessness issue. I would say that we've actually over the past year, are doing more than we've ever done before. As I said before, the $6.3 million that we're investing in homelessness assistance efforts, the $2.1 million we've given to homeless service providers this last year as part of coronavirus relief, the landlord risk mitigation fund that we're working with the city on so that landlords are more ready and willing to bring in folks who are homeless into their apartment units. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program, $15 million in rental assistance and utility assistance. Leon Cares, $12 million in rental assistance and utility assistance. These monies helped prevent people from being evicted from their homes. And of course, the street outreach team, which we've talked about a lot. These are all things that we've done over the last year, which have not been done before, which didn't exist a year ago, or I should say 18 months ago. So we are doing more for homelessness on that issue now than we ever have before. So I'm okay with options 1, 2, and 3, so long as we have a chance to take a look at those ordinances, and we will, figure out and take a look at what those are. I'm okay with being, either taking a look at the ordinances, drafting over the next meeting or two, or going through options 1 and 5, which is to give the sheriff's office some chance. To me, functionally, they're about the same. But I'm telling, if you had a chance to meet with the county attorney prior to this meeting, you had a discussion about how much nuance there is on the ability for us to have these ordinances. They are not the silver bullet that we're hoping that they could be. They are not. And Commissioner Dozier had a good example of that. The others are the same way. And that's why the sheriff has asked us for some time, to work with the street outreach team to build that capacity so that, remember my 3 tracks? So that you aren't incarcerating people and having them in our county jail for a few days and then going right back to where they were before. And actually that's happened in my district. We've had people get assistance. They turn down the assistance, not jail, but they turn the assistance and they come right back to where they were before. It's about building trust and about building capacity for stable housing and those services so that people are able to see that there's a different path than sleeping outside. So I hear what everyone is saying. We all want to take some action. I'm hearing it from my folks in my district. I know you all are too. I'm okay for us to explore the ordinances, but I do think that the sheriff, I think working with his deputies, with the street outreach team, I do think that's probably the right path for us. If it's will the board to go and start working on the draft ordinances, in addition to that, that's fine by me. We can have this discussion and the legal nuance of each of those coming up soon. But what will happen anyway is those two deputies will be hired and work with the street outreach team. So I'm essentially getting what I want anyway. With that, Mr. Vice Chair, thank you very much. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. We'll go straight to the vote. Substitute motion on the floor is for options 1, 2, and 3. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Aye. Motion carries 4-3 for options 1, 2, and 3. You know what? Hold on. I had 1, 2. All those, I'll tell you what, those in favor, raise your hand, please. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Motion carries 4-3 with Chairman Proctor, myself, and Commissioner Dozier in dissent.
No. I was for the substitute motion.
Sir?
I voted for the substitute.
Oh, he voted for. Okay.
Right.
You wouldn't say. Okay, I'm sorry. It was Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Jackson, and Vice Chair Maddox in dissent. I'll turn it back over to our chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Chairman. Fine job. Gave me a breather. I appreciate you so much. Sometimes you come off the bench and, and do what you got to do. That's
what I do.
Yeah, you come off. All right. Moving right along. Our next item, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item seeks your consideration to adopt uniform performance measures developed by FSU, the ASCII School, for the CHSP process. The item also seeks board authorization to develop an MOU with the City of Tallahassee and the Children's Services Council on the coordination of grant-making, data sharing, performance measures, which is also a recommendation of the ASCII School. Commissioners, in just a moment, Shinkton Lammy and Dr. David Berland, an associate professor at the ASCII School, are ready to provide a presentation. Again, if that's something that you wish to receive at this point, and they're certainly available to do that. Again, that would be on, the presentation would be on all that is included in the item before you, which is the uniform performance measures that have been developed as part of our continued effort to improve the CHSP process and to address the highest human services needs of the community. The measures, Commissioners, will enhance our efforts to evaluate the effectiveness of human services programs funded through CHSP, and was developed with the input and feedback of our partner agencies at UPHS. As a result, these measures will not be disruptive to either the agencies or the current grant-making processes for CHSP, but rather will support our ongoing efforts to enhance and improve the system. Therefore, Commissioners, we are recommending options 1 and 2. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it back to you. Again, if you'd like a presentation or if we can answer any questions.
Certainly. Commissioners, we have been briefed on this matter. I'm sure we've asked our questions. Thank you. All right. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor? I'm sorry. Commissioner Dozier, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I know it's late. We had a lot of presentations and other things, but for a lot of us, we've been waiting on this item for years, and I'm excited that we're here, and I think it does deserve just a moment, even if we don't get to the presentation. Just thank you for all the incredible hard work. I want to thank UPHS. I know Amber Tynan and others had to leave, and all of our nonprofit partners who worked with the team at ASCII and our staff to come up with this. to develop this report. So I'm trying to, pack a lot in, and I know, Ms. County Administrator, we've had this conversation for a very long time. The progress, moving from 240 different metrics and really distilling that, that's really exceptional. But if I'm going to keep this really short, the best thing is what I mentioned earlier when the sheriff was here, and it's the data set. Getting data, being able to see our progress, have some uniform measurements, that is really exceptional. And to guide policy in the future and to know whether or not our programs are really helping and working and help our nonprofits, this is a huge step forward. So again, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, I just didn't want to let it go without making those comments, because this is a big step forward. And for one, I am very interested in hearing more about an ongoing relationship with FSQ and the ASPE school, so public administration. So, Mr. County Administrator, when we had our briefing yesterday, you told me that could come back in the spring or the fall. Is there, if you could remind me kind of what the timing of this might be, because from my perspective, bringing it back in the spring or earlier in the budget year, it may help us move forward into the next CHSP cycle. And if that's a challenge for you all, for staff, I understand, but I just wanted to ask that question here.
This is a process question, so we don't have to get into the substance.
Yes, we will be bringing an agenda item in the spring when we bring the item for you to ratify the citizen review team membership. So during that time, we will bring this also the option to look at the relationship of enhancing that with ASU School.
Fantastic, Shinton. Thank you. Okay, that was it. And do we have a motion on the table, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I thought we did. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you again for all the hard work. Truly appreciate it.
All right, staff, y'all got the motion, all of that? Okay. I want to give a shout out to Shinkton Lammy. His presentation at the one of the previous Children's Services Council meetings was just par excellent. And I guess I'm so full from, that full course meal that you served there that I didn't want to deny Commissioner Dozier, but I personally just enjoyed so much your outlay of, we're moving in a positive direction with respect to human services. I'm very excited. Those in favor of the motion on the table for options 1 and 2, please say aye. Opposed, the same sign. It passes unanimously. My last meeting, Mr. Vice Chair, I had unanimous all night long. And then you bring these cantankerous human service issues here. I mean, 4-3, you know what's going on. Y'all is a hard crowd to work with. All right, Mr. Administrator, 35.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'll be brief on this, but it's a very exciting item. I'm seeking your ratification of a request for $11 million in additional federal emergency rental assistance funding. As you know, Commissioners, the U.S. Treasury last month invited communities like Leon County, because we were so successful in getting the ERA funding out the door into people in need in our community, that, again, they invited us to apply for additional funding, which we were very happy to do. As presented in this item, the funds will be utilized to conduct recertification of previously awarded applicants, relocation assistance, and housing stability services. Commissioners, we're still waiting to hear back from the Treasury on our request for the additional funding. However, we do have approximately $2.4 million in ERA2 funding remaining. In regard to the ERA2 funding, we anticipate that the Treasury will release guidance next September that will allow us to use the remaining funding on other housing-related expenses that could potentially include the development of new affordable housing units. Therefore, we're recommending that if the county does not receive the additional ERA funding that's been requested, that the board authorize utilization of the remaining ERA2 funds for the programs outlined in this item. If we do receive the full amount requested, staff would bring back an agenda item for the board's consideration on the recommendations for the use of our remaining dollars subsequent to the Treasury's guidance, so that you can have informed options on where you'd like to direct that funding. and to what areas of need. And with that, Commissioners, we're recommending options 1 and 2 in your item.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Maddox, a second by Commissioner Welch. Commissioners, let me just say for the record that this really is a reflection of our staff and how efficient they were in previous handlings of relief hours. And because of the level of efficiencies, they set a benchmark, so much so that they have been touted and even wooed into applying again. And one thing about those persons who provide monies, they like to see the efficiency of their disbursement, the smooth allocations, as well as accountability. And I think that this is really a reflection of the good work of staff, and we commend you for placing us even in a greater position to be of greater services. All persons in favor of this motion of options 1 and 2, please say aye. Aye. It passes unanimously. Okay, next item 36.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we've got some good momentum going here, but Commissioner Minor is going to slow you down just a little bit on this next item, I'm sure.
That's just like old Minor.
This item, Commissioners, you'll recall, is the Citizens North Monroe Street Corridor Task Force. You all will recall that this 12-member task force has met regularly over the past 6 months. And they've heard from subject matter experts, and they've taken public input and identified findings and opportunities to enhance the North Monroe Street Corridor. Again, Planning Director Artie White is here and can provide a quick presentation, an overview, or we'd just be happy to answer any questions that you might have. But let me do take the opportunity to recognize the great work by our Planning Department in supporting the task force and helping navigate all of the multi-jurisdictional issues related to state roadway, including incorporated and unincorporated areas, also a planned gateway project with Blueprint, and a lot of other issues. And so I'm sure that the District Commissioner may wish to add something here. And again, we do have Artie on deck, should you like it, Commissioners. But with that, we are recommending option 1.
Okay.
Hey, I'm sorry, I do have one speaker on this item.
Oh, we do? Very well.
Marcus Tompkins.
Mr. Chair, while the speaker comes up, I have an on point to the last item. I didn't get to say real quick. We heard comment about the transition from Orange Avenue housing wise, and some of the folks were having problems. When we really started looking at this funding coming down from the federal government for the program we just spoke of, coordinate with the Housing Authority to see how that funding can be used to help people transition into permanent housing. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, District Commissioner, where you going, man? Okay, I want you to make the commendations on behalf of our board to this committee and wrap a bow around a nice yellow bow, and we're going to move on past this. Yes, sir. Your name and address for our records.
Yes, sir. My name is Marcus Tompkins. My address is 217 West 9th Avenue. And I had the pleasure of serving on the task force. Hello, Commissioner Minor. And I would honestly like to thank the Commission for the opportunity to serve on the task force. It's really been a dream of mine, honestly, like since I was a kid, serving the city in this capacity, just being from Tallahassee and just riding around and just window auditing, as I learned, just seeing like how I can help like be like an agent of change, and having the opportunity to serve on this task force has really been like an honor. And I just want to thank you guys first and foremost for allowing this thing to be. And I would like to thank everybody as well involved in creating the report that we have, from the Planning Department to my fellow task force members, and just everybody who was able to give their time to these efforts. And also to the Commission, I want to let you guys know that I value every issue that was highlighted in this report. And I would like to encourage you all to continue working with the community as a community to address the needs that have been highlighted in this report. I truly believe that the victims and those who are vulnerable to sex trafficking, to those who do experience homelessness, to area residents, to area business owners, and just the community as a whole can really benefit from improvements along the corridor. And I would also like to just make a recommendation that the task force is continued, or there is a committee that is created in order for the report to stay engaged for the implementation of the recommendations, and also so that whether it's a task force or a new committee that is created, that it continues to be a bridge for the community for the engagement process. Because I think, again, this would be a really good opportunity for the community to get involved in a very integral part of the city. Like for me, the North Monroe corridor is not just like a gateway for the city for visitors, but it's home. You know, this is like where I live, and so it's like to see home being taken care of. It really means a lot to me as a citizen. So if you guys could, continue to support what is in this plan and continue to support the betterment of this corridor in general and the community overall, as a citizen, I would really appreciate it. And the last thing, I just want to say again, thank you, Commissioner Minor, for thinking of this task force. It is again a real pleasure of mine to serve. And to anybody who is listening to me right now, I just want to encourage you guys to like follow your dreams, because for me, this was like a dream. Like a kid, just like being able to be a catalyst, a change, an agent of change, and just like follow your dreams and be healthy and be kind to yourself along the process. Within the journey, I truly feel that's when our character is built. And thank you. Thank you.
Very, very good. Mr. Tompkins waited 5 hours and 40 minutes to tell us those comments. I mean, he may have spent more time in waiting to say that than the actual time for some of the committee work. I know that this has been a heartfelt concern to the district commissioner. There are two things that Mr. Tompkins indicated. One, that the task force would continue. And two, the reason being that it would be a bridge for further engagement. And three, the issues are quite substantive and possibly continue to need support and not oversight, but some engagement with the community into the future. I yield now to the district commissioner, but I do note that under recommendation 1B, we have to note that the word crime and human trafficking is there. And both crime is a crime and human trafficking is one. Yeah. But to note that in this corridor, there's a category called human trafficking, that's an alarm, an amazing one. District Commissioner, you want to speak to this and wrap a bow around it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Mr. Tompkins, you and I are going to get together soon. I want to keep you involved, sir. Thank you for everything that you did on the committee, and we'll talk. We'll talk for sure. Also want to recognize Robin Hassler-Thompson, who's another member of the Citizens Task Force. Robin, thank you very much for being here. And just real quick, I want to thank the other citizens that joined us on this task force. It was a really great group of people, very diverse, some very heated discussions. It was not a rubber stamp type of group, was it, Robin and Marcus? Not at all. But yeah, Chuck Adcock, Jonna Coleman, Kimberly Fudge, Ron Goldstein, John McNeil, Kathy McMillan, Piyush Patel, Joe Laurie Penrose, Jordan Scott, and Roger Rankin, in addition to Mr. Tompkins and Ms. Hassler-Thompson. So, Ron Goldstein's here. Oh, Ron, good to see you. Thanks to all of you that are here, as well as the folks that couldn't make it here today. Really appreciate all the hard work that you put into it. Each one of you really cares about North Monroe and in this community, and it really showed. Also want to thank Ken Morris and the planning staff, Artie White, Susan Poplin. You guys are great. Thank you for everything, and all the other staff. It was a big team that put this on. The recommendations I thought were terrific. If you all remember, thanks to you on the commission, you basically allowed this task force to be created and focus on three different things. One was corridor improvements, another was reducing crime, and the other was addressing homelessness in the area. we've got some really strong recommendations on each of those. I won't enumerate those since they're already in the report, but I do really feel good about the very tangible things that the task force is recommending and the staff has been supporting in terms of that with the report as well. This isn't the end. This is really the beginning. The recommendations here, if you see fit to approve them, and I hope you will be the start of us working on some of these things. There's a lot of first steps in these recommendations that will need a second and third and fourth step. But this is really how things get started. And then finally, I wanted to just recognize the fact that the North Monroe Gateway project has been on Blueprint for quite some time, but it hasn't been funded until just this last year. So I want to thank my colleagues on the county and, of course, all the city folks that basically had allowed the Blueprint project to now be funded. It's a little bit further down in the schedule, but for the first time, it is now a funded Blueprint project. So we do have those funds coming at some point to help us along with some of these recommendations in the future. So with that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to move for staff recommendation. Thank you, sir.
Second. We have a motion and a second for staff recommendation. Ms. Susan Poplin, who served as one of our lead staff persons. Susan, are you? Just wave your hands in the air. There we go. Just wave it like you just don't care. Yeah, thank you. And Artie White, Planning Director. I want to thank you all for providing infrastructure for this particular task force. Hearing no other comments, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Okay, carries unanimously. Item number 37.
Mr. Chairman, the next three items are related to appointments, so be ready for the next three items. The first one, Commissioner, here is seeks the board's appointment of one commissioner to serve as a member of the canvassing board as a replacement for the chairman, and the board's appointment of a commissioner to serve as a substitute member for the canvassing board. You have before you, Commissioners, options 1 and 2, which present to you the eligible commissioners for the two respective seats.
Okay. Commissioners, what is your pleasure with respect to one of you serving on this board? I believe the restrictions here, General Counsel, is that we cannot have our names on the ballot next year and serve on the canvassing board too. This is not Georgia, by the way. You can't be the Secretary of State and be your name on the ballot.
That's correct. There are three criterion. One, you have to be able to serve. 2, you cannot be a candidate in an opposed race that's upcoming in the election cycle. And 3rd, you cannot be an active participant in any other race, opposed race, in the upcoming election cycle. And there's an outline in the agenda about what it means to be an active participant that comes from a Division of Elections opinion. That's the body that weighs in on those types of questions. It is not active participation to merely give a campaign contribution. But if you go above and beyond, if you take some sort of active role, if you endorse somebody, if you hold a campaign fundraiser, if you wear a T-shirt, if you wave a sign, all of those things would constitute active participation and disqualify somebody from service.
May I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Normally, I guess I would just press request. So would that include attending a fundraiser of any type?
Attending a fundraiser for a candidate is listed as an activity that would disqualify someone from serving.
Well, then I would remove myself from consideration for one of the vacancies because I would want to reserve that.
I appreciate you wanting to come to my fundraiser.
Yeah, sure, man. You set it up, okay?
Yes, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Due respect to Commissioner Jackson, I appreciate you. There are only 4 of us that could serve, and I can't serve in all of the positions. And I would also say that after reorganization next year, if there were a recount or anything else, I could not serve in that position. And all 4 of us who are eligible to serve in some of these positions, I won't speak for 2 other colleagues who haven't spoken yet, but we may want to attend fundraisers as well. So I appreciate your recusal from that, but because you want to attend. But I think we need to acknowledge if we don't appoint some of these positions, we will leave it to others. And that, my understanding, could be one of the first times, if not the first, the county commission delegates these positions to citizens or the chief judge or someone else. So I was hoping that my three colleagues sitting next to me would take it up this year because I am in a unique position, and acknowledging that it is a challenge for any of us. I mean, this is just one of the things that we have to do as county commissioners. And want to compliment Vice Chair Maddox. You served for a long time. You held this position down for a long time. So it is, and you can talk about the commitment, the time commitment, everything for the person serving on the canvassing board more than the substitute or the alternate, right?
Right.
But I'm just going to put my 2 cents out there right now and encourage my three colleagues to my right here to think about this, because I would hate for it to be delegated to others. I think there is a role for county commissioners. And I'm concerned about my unique position and my limitations on serving on the canvassing board. So with that, Mr. Chair, I got that out, and we can leave it to the others for some comments. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
If I might, it's a time commitment, but it's an honor and privilege, and it's a lot of learning. But it's an experience. If I could serve this year, I would serve again. I enjoy it that much. I enjoy being a part of the process that much. And at this point, I feel like I'm pretty much a professional at being there. So whoever decides to take it on, I will tell you, Commissioner Lindley was my substitute, and she did a magnificent job and enjoyed it as well. But whoever decides to take it on, it is a responsibility, it's a commitment, and but it's one that I think that you'll enjoy. I think you'll enjoy.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Maddox, can you elaborate a little on the time commitment in terms of how much time?
I have spent. I don't even want to answer that question because it might scare you away.
Please answer the question.
I've spent whole Saturdays in there post election. Some meetings are short. The organizational ones are pretty short. But there's sometimes you may have 400 ballots to go through. The staff.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
400 ballots to go through. The staff will go through as many as they can and determine things. But then there's some that they don't feel comfortable with, and so you, as a sitting member, will have to sit there and decipher with your other members whether that vote is for this one, that one, or the other one. So there were short meetings, there were long meetings, but the long meetings were long. You're going to be there all election night. The day after, you're going to be there all day that day. And if there's a recount, you're going to be there for the entire recount. But it's again, if I could do it, I would. It's worth it. I mean, I enjoyed the process.
Mr. Chair, on point here, can I ask a clarifying question? Commissioner Maddox, Mr. Vice Chair, those long days were in the weeks immediately after the general election. It wasn't throughout the year.
No, it was
correct?
not throughout.
It was just in those few weeks, and you did serve during a contested gubernatorial election, for example, and others. So there are some unique circumstances. Yes, we have another gubernatorial this year, but just I thought that might help. I mean, it is in the few days after.
It's not throughout. I think there's some period of times, like, when you're getting closer. If you can think about the peak times when there's early voting, when there's mail-in voting. So the peak times when you're going to get more ballots, you're going to be there a longer time. But those more ballots usually happen towards the end of those times. So the end of early voting, the end of mail-in voting, you have more ballots, on election day. So other than that, you may come in and you may be there in 45 minutes.
Commissioner Welch.
Thank you. I heard you say something about, or somebody said something about fundraisers, attending fundraisers. What limitations are there?
You cannot attend fundraisers. You can give a check, but that's all you can do.
So you can donate to candidates.
You can
Not
give
that I
a
will,
check,
just
but that's it.
So you can write checks.
Yes.
Okay. So Commissioner Jackson, I was out of the chambers. Are you not in this? Because it's the four of us, right? And Ms.
Actually, she has, I understand where you're at. Yeah, I know where you're at.
So is it just me and Commissioner Cummings? We vying for alternate or main at this point, or are you involved too?
No, I'll do what is good for the cause.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
You yield, you've completed, Ms.
Oh, you
Welch?
finished, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna take it and just, so the main one, I'm okay with it if it helps the body. I do think it'll be interesting. I'm a social studies teacher. I think it's interesting. I just don't want to overcommit myself.
I'll second that quick before he changes his mind.
Which I guess would make, we got to,
Karen, obviously, we don't get to discuss these things ahead of time. So I'll be happy to be substitute.
Now, one caveat there, the appointee is a 1-year appointee, the substitute is a 2-year job.
Okay, let me take what Brian got. I'll be happy to do what needs to be done.
And then there's an alternate substitute?
That takes care of my question. I just wanted to ask, was it?
He's the alternate.
There were 3 slots to fill.
So right now, there are 3 only because the chair is by default usually the sitting member on the canvassing board. But this year, Chairman Proctor is ostensibly going to be in a race where there's opposition.
Let me clarify that. He is going to be,
I didn't know if it was public knowledge or not, but that was the assumption, in which case you are disqualified and unable to serve. So we do need someone to serve on the canvassing board, but then there are the other 2 positions, the substitute, which is the person who fills on a permanent basis if something happens to the sitting member permanently. The alternate, who will be appointed by the chair, only steps in temporarily if the sitting member is unable to attend like a meeting or something like that. That's the difference between the substitute and the alternate.
Commissioner Cummings, I'll do whatever you choose. I'll take the office. But it sounds like we have to fill those 3 slots with us 3 folks.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a problem filling the substitute slot. I'm not sure if I'm disqualified because I did attend a fundraiser for a candidate earlier. But of course, if I take this position, that would have been prior to. So, Madam Attorney.
If it was a fundraiser for a candidate in a contested race,
It is
be
contested.
disqualified.
Okay, it is contested.
I'll be a sub and you'll have to pick an alternate.
okay, very good. Commissioner Minor, are you available as an alternate?
Mr. Chairman, no, I'm not, sir. I'm filed to run for re-election. So, but point of information.
Now, that was private information we didn't know before. That just came out.
But point of information, no, the substitute and the alternate could be the same person. Is that correct?
No.
I'm unaware of anything that precludes it. I didn't see anything in the Division of Election Opinions. We could certainly inquire. However, what you do, though, is you run the risk. If for some reason your substitute and your alternate somehow become unable or disqualified, you don't have either one of them if they're the same person.
Okay.
And if a vacancy occurs in one of those positions without board having taken action to fill those, the default under the statute is the chief judge would appoint from the qualified electors of the county. That's the default under the statutes.
And the chairman does appoint the alternate.
Correct.
Okay.
I
For a 2-year
will
term.
say that the chief judge has traditionally appointed 2 judges because there were past times when one judge couldn't make it and his substitute would come in. So if it comes down to it, in history keeps what was, the chief judge traditionally appoints 2 judges to the slots that come from them. So if we can't find another appointee, it's my guess. I'm not saying they have to, but it's my guess that the chief judge would appoint 2 judges.
Who are the members on the canvassing board? The 3 of y'all?
When I was there, it was myself, the supervisor of election, and Judge
Akins.
It's a county judge.
Judge
County
Akins.
court judge.
Right. Yeah. So this is a 3-member canvassing board body. A county commissioner, the supervisor of election, and county judge.
Yes.
And immense last say of interpretation of election rules, everything. It is a good experience.
Mr. Chair.
Can we get
Point of information, the judge on the board does serve as the chair of the canvassing board, and in the event there would be a need for a substitute member to serve, it is the discretion of the chair, the judge, to select from amongst the substitutes for the different bodies.
All right. How are we shaping up now? Let's get to the bottom of it.
Mr. Chair, can I have one quick point of clarification?
Yes, sir.
I do need to ask again, just to be clear. I have donated to 2 current candidates. I just have not attended physically a fundraiser. I don't know how that is different, but it is evidently different, correct?
Correct. Under the Division of Elections opinions, that is permissible. The rationale in the opinion was that when you give a campaign donation, many times because of the reporting cycle, people don't know who's donated to these campaigns for months. But that is very different from going out and overtly wearing a shirt, waving a sign, endorsing a candidate, attending a fundraiser, hosting a fundraiser. Those are all the sorts of activities that constitute being an active participant and would disqualify you.
Mr. Chair, what if I have supported a candidate in social media in addition to writing a check, but not actually physically attending a fundraiser?
Was it an endorsement?
It was, essentially, if you say, yeah, I support this candidate. I can't recall exactly if I've done that. The school board race. So I'm not exactly sure if I've done that, but I may have done that. But I don't want to get crossed up. You know what I'm saying? If I'm sitting here counting votes for this race in November, I find that delineation is so sketch to go from writing a check to actually physically attending a fundraiser.
So, point of information.
This cycle,
Mr. Chair.
this time,
Not
not last year, this year.
Yeah,
Point of information.
General Counsel speaking.
So sorry, I just wanted to say, so the way the criterion is worded is that the canvassing board member cannot be an active participant in the campaign or candidacy of any candidate who has opposition in the election being canvassed, okay? And then there's a whole list of things that have come out in Division of Election opinions about what constitutes being an active participant. But basically, the way the opinion defines it is one who undertakes an action intentionally to demonstrate or generate public support for a candidate. So in terms of the list of things that were identified as being an active participant in the Division of Elections opinion, commenting on someone on social media wasn't on that list, which granted was from 2009. There have been some changes in technology and the use of social media.
Yeah.
But if you want to serve, I think it would be worth requesting an opinion from the Division of Elections about activities on social media.
Mr. Chair, may I? But that list does not include a written donation.
It affirmatively does not include a written donation.
And this
Division of Elections
This race
has opined
currently,
on
I
that.
don't think has opposition. I think it's one filed candidate.
Then that would be fine.
Okay.
Ms. Vice Chair.
Madam County Attorney, just in an abundance of caution, I believe if that person ever gets a candidate, I'm almost certain that someone would challenge on the basis of, because that is, and then if you put that on social media, it's just as good as waving a sign. In abundance of caution, if you did do that, I would disqualify myself. Because I think it would be challenged. Now, I do understand what the Madam County Attorney is saying.
Well, if it's in an unopposed race, there's no problem.
No, but let me ask you this. If it's an unopposed race now, but then somebody jumps in the race later.
Then you would have to then you would become disqualified. You would have to resign. That has happened in the past where someone who is a sitting member has resigned.
All right,
But
all
that would
these-
then trigger the substitute.
All right, the chairman has an interest in finding somebody to serve. We're down to one person.
Mr.
Commissioner. Yes.
I'm sorry.
You want to serve?
No, sir.
All right.
I've just been waiting in queue to speak. Go ahead.
On point. One last question. Madam Attorney.
Ms. Vice Chair, hold on. We need somebody going to serve. All right. All right. Welch can serve until otherwise the person he supported gets some opposition. Jackson can serve. I need the two. Jackson and Welch is going to serve. Somebody's going to be the alternative. That's what we're going to have. Is there a motion for Welch and then Jackson as alternative? Is that all right?
Second. And Mr. Chair, I have another comment.
All right. Got a motion on the floor recognizing the Vice Chair and then Commissioner Dozier.
Point of information, is the motion for Commissioner Welch to serve as the sitting member and then Commissioner Jackson to serve as the substitute?
Correct. And when Welch comes off, we ain't going to have a substitute because nobody else is qualified to serve. All right. Commissioner Dozier, did you ask you? Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the future, it may be really good to bring up this item at the beginning of 2 years in advance. I think just the discussion we've had right now, all of us being aware of the rules and who is qualified and who isn't qualified, I would expect that, you may not have attended a fundraiser, Commissioner Cummings, if you had wanted to serve on the canvassing board. So you've already disqualified yourself from consideration and you weren't sure it was coming, right? So, Madam County Attorney, Mr. County Administrator, I don't know if you need board direction on this, but it would help this board if we advance this one appointment even after the last general election, before any candidates were to file. I mean, if this had been last December, it would have kept this really clean and we would have had more options on the table. Is that something you need directions on, Mr. County Administrator, or is that possible?
Consider this the training for 2 years from now.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for that. And, I guess I could say I'm sorry for putting y'all in a difficult position, but really, if I'd gone a different direction, I'd be disqualified anyhow. So thank you to my three colleagues for stepping up and for clarifying this issue. It is really important to have a county representative along with the supervisor and the courts on this important board. And again, I'm just going to conclude with Commissioner Maddox. You and Commissioner Lindley really held this down for years. I mean, you almost didn't want to let it go. So our two at-large commissioners held it down for us, and thank you for your service. I'm sure that this is going to be the most amazing social studies semester in Mr. Welch's class at Childs High we have ever seen. So thank you, sir, for stepping up, both of you.
Okay, Commissioners, we have the motion for Commissioner Welch to serve as the board member on the canvassing board and Commissioner Jackson to be the alternate member. Hearing no other, the substitute member, hearing no other comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Our next item, agenda item number 38.
8. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item, Commissioners, seeks the board's appointment, or seeks appointments rather to the Big Bend Continuum of Care, the CRTPA, the Juvenile Justice Advisory Committee, the EFA, as well as the Workforce Development Consortium. Option 1, Commissioners, reflects eligible, the full board appointment to appoint commissioners, to each of the following. So, and options 1 through, or A through E help facilitate your selection of a commissioner to each of those.
Option C, I would like to nominate the good Commissioner Jimbo Jackson.
Thank you. Accept that nomination since I'll also be the sub on the canvassing board. I enjoy those meetings and I look forward to attending on our behalf. So I appreciate that, Commissioner Maddox.
Thanks. Okay, hearing no other names, we consider that's, pardon? Yeah, okay, hearing no other names contending, we, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Me.
Okay, passes unanimously. Next appointment.
Commissioner Maddox took that one a little bit out of order, but we still have a full board appointment of 1 commissioner to the Big Bend COC.
I would respectfully ask Commissioner Minor if you were willing to continue to serve on the continuum of care. You've obviously worked closely with the folks over there.
Mr. Chair? Yes, I would. I think, I know some of the quite a few of the folks at the COC. Ms. Coleman is doing a good job in her new role, and I think my work at Second Harvest gives me some decent background. So I'd like to serve again if you all would be up for it.
I would like to make a motion for Commissioner Minor to serve on the continuum of care, and thank you for your service there. You've done a good job.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Dozier and a second by Commissioner Welch. All in favor, please say aye. Passes unanimously.
B seeks your consideration, Commissioners, of 3 commissioners to the CRTPA.
How many members did we get on that? 3 or 4? 3? All right. Who was the previous lineup? Can we move that slate?
3.
Are the 3 of you who have served in previous years?
Commissioner Minor, myself, and the vice chair, and I'm currently serving as chair of the board this year, so
All right. So you're going to be bringing the bacon home.
I'm doing our best.
Home. All right. Commissioner Maddox, you okay? You good?
Yes, sir. I'm currently chairman of the statewide MPOAC.
Okay. Commissioners, I'd like to make recommendation to you that we receive a motion to keep this team in place. The continuity, the institutional awareness of this CRPTA. We don't want to change stream, in particular with this particular legislature, the dynamics of where we are, and we don't need to come up to speed with all that's swirling in the air. Could I get a motion for a slate?
A second.
Okay, good. We have a motion and a second to retain members Minor, Dozier, and Maddox on the CRPTA. All in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Very good.
D seeks a full board appointment of 1 commissioner to the EFA.
Commissioner Welch. Commissioner Welch, are you interested in continuing to serve?
I'm sorry.
I so move.
All right.
Second.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I missed Commissioner Jackson's, was that to C, Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was out of order.
Yeah, I'm fine with the
Great.
EFA.
All right. Commissioner Dozier has made a motion. Commissioner Cummings has seconded that Commissioner Welch continues on the EFA. What is your pleasure? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously.
And finally, E is 1 commissioner to the Workforce Development Consortium.
Who's serving now? Okay.
Commissioner Maddox.
Commissioner Maddox, are you open to continuing to serve on Workforce Development? Yes, sir. All right. Is there a motion for Commissioner Maddox? All right. Commissioner Dozier makes that motion. Commissioner Welch seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, very good. Does that complete our items for tonight?
That concludes that item. We have 1 remaining item on general business, item number 39.
All right, Commissioners, we have item 39 that seeks appointments to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, the Early Learning Coalition, Big Bend. I'm going to ask the Vice Chair to preside over item 39. I have no conflicts. I'm just,
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Need a break.
Item number 39 has options 1, 2, and 3. Option 1 only has 1 appointee. Can I get a motion for option 1? Option 1 has been moved by Commissioner Welch. There's second. Seconded by Commissioner Dozier. Any objection? Show it as moved without objection. Option 2 has 3 people: Kim Sims, Caroline Pryor, and Nandria Burrell. Is there a motion for one of those folks?
I would nominate Kim Sims. She was my original nominee.
Okay. Kim Sims has been nominated by Commissioner Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chairman Proctor. Is there any comment? Any objection? Show it as carried without objection. Option number 3, appoint 2 citizens. It looks like we only have 2 citizens available to be appointed. Is there a motion for option number 3?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Chairman Proctor. Is there any comment? Any objection? Show it as passed without objection. We'll move on now to citizens to be heard on non-agenda items.
We have no citizen cards in, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, now we're at our comments and items from the board. Mr. Chairman, you want me to carry this as well?
Please do, sir.
Okay, we'll start with the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I do have a matter to discuss with the board this evening. Apologize for not providing any written documentation in advance. It was late breaking. There is a proposed settlement of the pending Department of Health notice of violation that's on the table. Under the terms of the proposed settlement, the county would just have to validate and confirm in writing that, consistent with the new law that became effective as a result of the law passed in special session, that the board has rescinded its vaccination requirement policy. And that was true and became effective the day that the governor signed the law, November 18th. The second condition is for the 14 employees who were terminated for not complying with the vaccination requirement policy, that if they apply for employment in the future, that they will be considered like any other candidate for employment, and that their vaccination status would not be taken into consideration, which, again, we are required to do now under the new law, and that the fact that they did not comply with the policy would not, be taken into consideration either. Those are the terms of the proposed settlement. No monetary penalty or fine. It's just clean. That is my recommendation, that the board accept it and authorize us to execute the settlement agreement.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Is there a motion to Madam Attorney's recommendation? Motion made by the board, seconded by the board. Motion made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Minor. Any comment? If this does not go unanimously, I'm going to scream. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So first, I'm just going to ask this question. Since the beginning, since August, under the counsel of you, Madam Attorney, and our County Administrator, most of us, I don't think any of us, have really engaged in public dialogue about this. We have, this has been a pending legal issue. At this point, with this settlement, and we've got a motion on the floor, assuming that's moving forward, we are not under any restrictions for speaking about this issue, or there wouldn't be any caution about that going forward. Is that correct?
I would like to see a settlement agreement executed, but at that point, you're free to
Thank you.
speak.
I think that was an important point here because I'm sure I'm not the only one up here that may have had a lot to say on this subject. Citizens have contacted us, media, others, and I just want to make sure we were in the correct posture moving forward. So I will hold back on some comments until after we actually have a signed settlement agreement. But for tonight, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Chair, I will say I am immensely proud of how our County Administrator and County Attorney and their teams have worked through this very difficult issue. We began this meeting with a proclamation and another COVID update from, the retirement of our health director, and there was a lot of comments about how challenging this last 2 years have been. Our staff has taken an incredible leadership role in so many ways, from CARES disbursement to these really difficult issues on vaccine. And you've handled yourselves professionally and really kept this board informed. And I very much appreciate that. I think everyone does. So I look forward to talking more about these subjects in the future, but well done, County Attorney Osteen. Truly, you've worked very hard on this. And thank you for bringing this in for a landing before the end of the year.
Motion been made for staff recommendation by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Minor. Any objection? Thank God. We'll move on. Next comment.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
I'd just like to make a comment.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. No, I just want to very briefly commend the county attorney and the county administrator. This is an awesome offer here on the table, and I just appreciate their professionalism, legal ability from the county attorney's office to even get to the point where DOH would make such an offer. So it's like I said, it's a no-brainer. So I really appreciate all the hard work on this particular litigation, and I think me, as all the other commissioners, are pleased to have it laid at rest. So we'll be looking forward to receiving the settlement agreement. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman, there's a reason that people get a Great Dane and not a mutt to be their attorney. And when you have a Great Dane representing you, most folk back down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for your comment. It's not many times we get an opportunity to do this, but I actually want to thank the state government for hearing us out in the settlement too. I mean, you went from $5 million to $0. That's pretty astounding. That's pretty outstanding. And in order for it to happen, they have to agree with it. So, I mean, it's not many times we get an opportunity to do it, but this is one time. I'm gonna say thank you. Madam Attorney, you got any more comments?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator.
Just, again, big kudos to our county attorney on that great job. Thanks a million. And to commissioners, to you all and to your families, happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. I have to start on my chair since he let me run this right now. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, it's been a great meeting. Thank you for your patience tonight. Mr. Administrator, don't you never bring 45 items down here and make the chairman look bad leaving. I'd like to request a proclamation for the Florida State University soccer team and to give a shout out, congratulations to their being national champions of women's soccer for the NC2A. Merry Christmas to our staff. Merry Christmas to you and your families, commissioners. And certainly I ask you're being prepared for our Martin Luther King festivities early next year. The retreat schedule, ask the county administrator if he has an available retreat schedule to make it available to us sometimes coming. There are 2 points, Mr. Vice Chairman, that I'd like to raise that has come up. Medicaid expansion and the Medicaid expansion, which our government across the street, state government, refuses to accede to the offer coming from the federal government. And millions of dollars are being blocked from Florida citizens, including those of Leon County. And I believe that at the retreat, one of the areas of which I'm hopeful we can address is that topic and to find out how to go on record to prevail from our legislature that Florida is able to receive Medicaid support, which the federal government has made available. Likewise, I believe at our retreat, I would like to review the $2.3 billion that has been made available to the state of Florida from the United States Department of Education, of which of the 49 states of our union, Florida is the only one that refuses to fill out its application to receive $2.3 billion. Again, some of the asks that have been made, the sheriff's comments tonight, his recommendations in this, that kind of money, the NAACP has raised it, all of the human services things that have come up, $2.3 billion, our state just won't even fill out the sheet of paper. And we are, you heard a lot of the needs, some are here in written form. This is amazing. This is not democracy when autocracy blocks our federal receipt of dollars for our communities. This is not a democracy when the federal government cannot get money to the local governments because the state government is playing games and won't take money that's been set for the state of Florida. And it seems to me that we have a 10th Amendment right, Madam Attorney, and I'd like for you to explore whatever the 10th Amendment can afford a government to receive money from its parent federal government. And it's being blocked, not by outlaws and hoodlums. It's being blocked by, well, maybe it is. It is being blocked by its own government. Something is wrong, and I think it's time legally to step up for $2.3 billion that can help all of the needs that have been expressed tonight. Commissioners, you're a great team. I love working with you all. You're very, very. We just need a motion on that proclamation. Okay, can we get a motion?
Motion been made by Chairman Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. For proclamation. Any objection? Short as passed without objection. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, I'm good. Merry Christmas to all and to all good night.
All right.
That sounds like plagiarism, doesn't it?
I'll go to Commissioner Dozier. Yep, it's all yours.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I seem to remember being here this late when we didn't have 45 items. So, I'm just saying. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So we heard from the Executive Director of DOMI earlier during unagended speaker items, and Ms. County Administrator may need a little bit of help with this, but I have met recently with at DOMI and heard about some of the challenges. They are at capacity, and there are some modifications of the space, probably not that extreme, that could help them increase their revenue and provide more space for entrepreneurs. So unless there's some issue with this, Mrs. County Administrator, I would like to have an agenda item come back to us. And I would really, it seems like doing it early, January meeting, February at the latest, but if we could get it in January, at least part of the discussion, is that possible? You're nodding? Okay, thank you. That way we could at least talk about this during budget and through the year. And it really is, I know, Mr. Chair, we talked about this blueprint last week. That would give us an opportunity. I think they're coming to us for the annual report in January as well, to really hear the economic impact numbers and particularly how much they've worked with FAMU over the years and what their options are for the future. So my motion is to bring back an agenda item, let staff work with the folks at DOMI to let us know what they need by way of remodeling the existing facility for January.
Motion been made by Commissioner Dozier. There's second. Seconded by Commissioner Minor. Everybody understand the motion on the floor? Any objection to the motion? Showing none. Short is passed unanimously. Commissioner Dozier, the floor is still yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Vice Chair. See, y'all have thrown me off. We had an item here, decided not to pull it, and I'm actually looking for the number right now. It's been a pretty long meeting. It was an update based on questions we asked when we improved the Amazon project last summer. There was a number of different issues that we discussed, including stormwater, which I appreciate the report from staff that addressed some of the questions and impact to Alfred Arms, the Buck Lake area. But Ms. County Administrator, I mentioned to you yesterday, I also appreciate the update on some of the other issues we raised, for example, Star Metro access to Amazon facility. I shared with the County Administrator that what I read in the item is a little different than what we heard at our CRTPA retreat from Star Metro staff. They said they were still in conversation with Amazon about having a bus route extended to that facility. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe some of the city commissioners were very interested in that because they acknowledged that, we're going to have a lot of workers going out to the facility. So I just wanted to lift up that issue, and I really hope that they will work out those details, the city and Amazon, before opening next October. We're already going to have a lot of traffic issues, and it would be good for many reasons to have bus service there. So I think that's something we should keep on our radar, and perhaps it is something we can talk to our colleagues about at CRTPA, if not other means, mayor, chair, or whatever that might be. Thornton Road extension, the 6-month update, those issues were also highlighted in that item. But the last thing from the item that I wanted to mention was there was some discussion about the Alfred Arms. That's the kind of finger of Lake Lafayette that comes up towards Buck Lake Road. And there are some opportunities there to do some cleanup, prevent some flooding of those residents down there. And I just wanted to put that on your radar. This may dovetail nicely with the future blueprint project, but I think there is a real opportunity to look at that area. I've even met with folks from Fish and Wildlife who've said that if we had a boat access there, we would qualify for funds from the state to do some of the cleanup of some of the invasives and other things. So there's some really interesting opportunities. I hope we can talk more about that in the future. So that was just something I didn't want to pull, Mr. Vice Chair, but I just wanted to highlight. Excellent job. It was great to actually see the parades happen. I can't believe we've had two of them since we I think two since we last met, Veterans and the Winter Festival Parade. So for all of our staff who works on those, great job. And hope everyone had a great Hanukkah and has a great Christmas and New Year's. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Minor. I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Proctor mentioned something about recognizing the FSU women's soccer team in their national championship.
Yes, sir.
I have to take a point of personal privilege in my other life as a school principal at Fort Braden School. Tonight, we locked up our third consecutive city championship in 1A of Leon County Schools. I'm super excited for them. They were champions in 18 and 19, sat out 2020, and came back this fall ready to roll in 3 consecutive championships in a tiny little middle school with only 242 students, facing the likes of Fairview, Cobb, Nims, and Woodville. Super excited for them. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but maybe one of them are tuned in or will get some footage of this. Tomorrow, it's pizza for everyone. So that is a fine upgrade from the traditional school lunch menu. I'm super proud of them. I'll discuss with them if there's a proclamation in order, but I promise you pizza is much more important to them than a proclamation.
Mr. Jackson, I heard there's no school tomorrow. What you talking about, pizza?
Yeah, don't tell Rocky. I too want to wish everyone best wishes for the holiday season. This is the time of the year that we remember family, both the ones we have here with us and the ones we don't. And we need to realize that we are in very short windows of time, and we have no guarantees for tomorrow's. It is best, in my opinion, to settle scores and you be the one to reach out to a unconnected or disconnected family member or someone you haven't spoke to, and just let them know that you want them to have a great holiday season and you hope for them happiness and joy. We have a very small and significant impact along the line of infinity, and the one people that will remember us most and that will be the ones responsible for putting us in the ground are our family. So I encourage you to spend as much time as possible with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Your words are always very nice. I thought when you said, I want to take a point of personal privilege, you're going to say that you were a soccer champion back when you had hair. I was waiting for it, man. I was waiting for it. Commissioner Minor, congratulations on the task force.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I was just going to lead with that. I just want to thank all of you for your support for the North Monroe Task Force. I really appreciate it. It's a long effort. We had a really great team of people working on it, and just want to thank all of you for that opportunity, as well as our staff who worked extremely hard. On Saturday, had the privilege of joining about 70 people on the Downtown Heritage Trail, which was led by Visit Tallahassee. Katie Cole and Carrie Post get a tremendous amount of credit working with the community on setting up that Heritage Trail. It's terrific. And that's not going to stop there. There's going to be some other different trails with different destinations along the way. I think the next one's going to be a civil rights themed trail, which would be terrific because, the whole idea is that as we have people coming for football games, if we can get them to stay an extra day or stay 3 days and come enjoy everything we have here in Tallahassee, this is one relatively inexpensive way for us to do that, and also to help increase public awareness among the people who live here about how much rich history we have. As you all know, I talk about them all the time. I've got 2 young daughters. One is almost 8 and the other is 3. And I'm always trying to explain to them what we do here. We work on the libraries. We help the chief with ambulances. We work on managing the parks and, how we grow in this community. They're not impressed by any of that. What they were impressed by was the fact that I had the honor of going to the gingerbread house judging competition at the library, which Commissioner Dozier alluded to. I mean, so they look at me in a whole new light now that I've been judging some gingerbread houses. So I just want to thank the county for that opportunity too. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, anything else. Now's the time, as Commissioner Jackson so eloquently said, to really thinking about your family and count your blessings. So happy holidays, everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I am very excited to report that the Children's Services Council has selected its first executive director, Ms. Sika Green. We will be signing her contract hopefully this Thursday. We will meet Thursday at 2:00 at Tallahassee Community College as a board. So we're very excited about bringing her on board. She comes to us as the former executive director of the Children's Home Society, where I understand she's done a tremendous job as their executive director. That's all I have. Mr. Vice Chair, I want to thank this commission for selecting me to be on the Children's Services Council. I've enjoyed it, and I'm just looking forward to all the great things that we can do for our children and for our families here in Leon County moving forward. So I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I hope we get rest during the holidays so we can come back in January and hit the ground running for the citizens of Leon County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Just real quick, want to take this opportunity to wish my youngest daughter, who's turning 10 on the 16th, a very happy early birthday. Her one request, you guys, was a cell phone. She said, my sister got a cell phone when she was 10, and I want a cell phone too.
You going with Boost Mobile?
I'm not too keen on the cell phone right now. She is 10, but likely she'll get away because she's my baby girl. But just want to tell Miley Maddox happy 10th birthday, happy early 10th birthday. Daddy loves you. Also, this is probably one of the longer meetings that we've had. The presentations were amazing today. We had some power-packed presentations from our sheriff and from all the proclamations given for retirement. As we watch people ride off to the sunset into their next lives, professional, well, not their next lives, but to relax in their life. It's always good to know that we're building people under them that can just step up and take the mantle and keep things going the Leon County way. And so I want to take the opportunity to recognize Pamela Monroe as our new library director and let her know how high the expectation is now that she is our director, given the start that we had there before. But that's just what we do at Leon County. We reload. And so want to thank the county attorney for the hard work she put in on the settlement. Mr. Administrator, your leadership is always appreciated, and we appreciate the staff that you built for us. Commissioners, happy holidays. I absolutely love serving with you guys. Like I always say, man, we find a way to get through our meetings and make good things happen for our county. I think we are by far the best county government in the state of Florida. I put us up against anybody. With that being said, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Mr. Vice Chair,
I'm sorry.
you're forgetting about me.
Oh, dang, my bad.
Hey, man, it's okay.
It's been a long night.
I'm used to it.
Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll be brief, but not that brief.
No, take your time, man.
No. You want to
I wanted to say, I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I did not say anything in consent, but the Proctor Road, Welaunee Park land swap real estate transaction was in that on the consent agenda. And I just want to thank staff for so deftly handling that real estate transaction, which is so important to me and my district. So thank you all so much. I'm looking forward to that park coming online. Obviously, that's a big step in the right direction. Secondly, wanted to give a thank you to Representative Tant and Greg Tisch and the folks from 93.3 on Saturday night at Bannerman Crossing. We had a karaoke fundraiser to benefit Representative Tant's organization, Keys to Exceptional Youth Success, which was a great success, raised $10,700. I also had an opportunity yesterday to tour the jail, the detention facility, with Sheriff McNeil and his staff, and wanted to thank them for their hospitality and giving me a real eye-opener into the challenges they face at the detention facility. Shouts out to the Florida State football team again, right? We have a football school now. My daughters are rapturously watch our female soccer team, and I think that's such a great thing for our community and for the FSU community. Also got to ride in my first parade on Veterans Day since we were here last, which was awesome, and got to do the Operation Thank You program for the first time. So all these are firsts for myself and Commissioner Cummings. And so that was awesome. Thank you to our staff. I mean, what an incredible event. What a great, just really heartwarming, and I love what we do for our veterans in this county, and I love the staff in our veterans office. I think it's just great. And that was a super exciting experience for me and my son, who got to help serve some breakfast with Commissioner Jackson. And I see these opportunities, obviously, to let my family get involved and see these things like on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So that was awesome.
He works way harder than you at those.
Yeah, you ought to see him playing a video game, man. He works very hard at that. Also, since our last meeting, got to go to the Division I NCAA Cross Country Championships at the ARP, which was super awesome. I did not ride in an airplane like Commissioner Dozier because I am not that brave. At first sight, I thought, well, that sounds like an old plane. It's probably flown by an old pilot. And then I realized it was like Navy pilots who really knew what was up. So I regrettably did not fly in the plane, but that was an awesome event. Another incredible testament to our staff and our Parks and Rec people and our county government for taking something like the ARP and turning it into what it is, which is just really remarkable. Wanted to ask for a proclamation. Bradley's Country Store celebrated their 50th Fun Day the Saturday before Thanksgiving, which was a tremendous success. Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. At the Bradley's Country Store Fun Day, 50th one was that day, so I'd like to give them some props and do a proclamation. So
motion been made by Commissioner Welch for a proclamation, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. Any objection? So it is passed unanimously. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, just wanted to echo the sentiments of Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year to all of you. As I end my first full calendar year on this board and in this role in our community, it is not lost on me day to day how privileged I am to get to have this opportunity. And frankly, I want to thank each of you, staff included, but also my colleagues on this dais for supporting me and always being positive interactors. We have a good relationship, I feel like, a productive relationship, a non-adversarial relationship, and I think that is a blessing not only to me as a new commissioner, but also to our community. So I just wanted to extend that thought in this time of thanks and celebration. So thank you all, and I'm looking forward to year 2.
Thank you, and I apologize, Commissioner Welch, sincerely. Ladies and gentlemen, we adjourn.